I'm ready. Welcome, everybody. It's episode 242. We're here. You just trained for your marathon? Did you get back from that?
Uh, I run all the time, so I'm not particularly training for anything that's too far away. But technically, no, I got done running and I didn't have any beer, so I ran to the store. I ran, then drove to the store, bought beer so I could do the podcast. So technically, I'm not fresh off the road, but I was running less than 45 minutes.
But you are now well lubricated.
Yes.
With beer. That's good. We'll get candid takes.
No, I only had one beer. I'm
okay.
Not well lubricated yet. But I had to come back. I had to feed baby tortoises in the house too. So I had to cram that in before I got in here.
Well, let's talk about the tortoises. You did a lot of elongated tortoise clutches, it looks like.
Yeah. That's mostly what I was feeding is elongated. Mm-hmm. The baby stay indoors.
Mm-hmm. How do they fit into your, I don't know, operation? Are they like show animals, or do they sell better online?
No, matter of fact, I don't even post them online. So I mean, I have some people who have seen clutches, and like one of the babies I just hatched, I got a real high yellow one in this clutch, and a guy messaged me after he saw the clutch and said he was interested, and I said, hey, I don't sell them for 60 days minimum. Mm-hmm. There's a long story I can dive into and why on that, but anyway, he said I'll wait, and so. I sold that one, but most of the time I bring those to shows, and I actually have a couple of people that I brought them to shows, and they've bought them wholesale. They'll walk to my table and buy every one I have and put them in their pet store or something. So, but normally I just bring in those to shows. I don't produce enough, and to be honest with you, when my elongators first started producing, I thought they were too young, and but they were producing, and so I'm still not getting big clutches from them because. My elongated, I just looked the other day when I picked them up. I think those elongateds are only about 8 or 9 years old. So clutches will probably start getting bigger. But with the elongateds, I've been in a war with raccoons for the last 3 years over tortoise eggs.
Damn. Are they in an outside enclosure year round?
Yeah. They're outside. I mean, I will bring in the dead of winter. I'll bring the elongateds into. I've got houses that are attached. The elongated pen is the only pen that doesn't have a house actually attached to it. So I got to go out there, pick them up, physically bring them to one of the other houses that are attached to the other tortoise pens and stick them in there. But I'll put them in there pretty much. I've got a small herd of grow up. They're, I don't know, probably somewhere about 4 or 5 years old. I got 3 hypo redfoots and a cherry head hypo that are in the pen with the elongateds. So I'll pick the redfoots up. Like, if it gets to about 50 to 52 degrees, I'll pick up the redfoot. So if I'm already out there picking them up, I'll probably pick up the elongateds because I'm already there. But there's times where I'm lazy or it's late, and the elongateds do fine out into the very low 40s. And I've got friends where I'm at in Louisiana. I'm on, they call it the North Shore, the South Shore, Lake Pontchartrain. For people who aren't familiar with Louisiana, Southeast is a very giant lake between New Orleans and where I'm at on the North Shore. We get 10 to 12 degrees colder normally every day on the North Shore. So New Orleans rarely gets into the 30s. I freeze probably 30 days a year where I live, even though I'm only 60 miles north of New Orleans. So I have friends in New Orleans that don't ever pick their elongateds up. They stay out year round. And they'll just put big giant leaf piles in there. So when it does drop into the 30s on the South Shore for a couple of days, the elongateds they'll bury up under the leaf piles and they'll stay, pretty warm under there. So I'll still pick them up. But I've left them out into, 42, 43 degrees. I'll leave them out, especially if I know, when the sun comes up the next day, it's going to be 50. Then they're only going to be cold for a little while.
The raccoons can just climb into the tortoise pen.
Yeah, they'll climb.
And pilfer the eggs.
Yeah. And I mean, on Sundays when I feed, I feed all the tortoises Missouri Torchow on Sundays only. So when I feed the Torchow, the coons know. I don't know if the coons are like, hey, it's fucking Sunday, let's go check it out. But I've literally fed so I got 3 big pens, and I'll rotate between them, and then I'll come back and check on stuff. And there's been times where, like, I'll put the food in with the redfoots and the elongateds, and then I'll leave, and I'll come back 10 minutes later, and there's a fucking raccoon in the pen with them, just like eating freaking food right next to the tortoises, And so But it wasn't too bad till about 2 years ago. Every now and again, if I didn't go check for eggs and eggs have been in the pen for 2 days, I come in, and the easiest way is they'll be like, I'll walk over and look in the water, bowl. It's not a bowl, it's a big freaking bucket, but I'll look in the water for the tortoises, and there's a broken eggshell in there. Because for people that don't know, raccoons wash their food. So they'll dig up the eggs, they'll go over to the water, they'll wash the egg in the water, then they'll crack the egg and eat it. So there'll be eggshells all over the water. That's how I know they stole them. But it about 3 years ago, it got to the point where it wasn't 2 or 3 days. Like I had to check every night, and then there's 2 years ago is when I realized it was bad. I went out and there was one of my redfoots in the big pen. One of my older redfoots was laying eggs in a hole in the middle. She probably had like 3 eggs laid. They normally lay 6 or 7. I came back like 30 minutes later. I was like, I can pull the eggs, and there's a coon with his hand under her ass, waiting for her to lay the egg in his hand. And I'm like, okay, this is fucking bad. And I still have too big of a heart. I still have yet to shoot one, but I've got quite a few of my freaking tortoise buddies like, you need to shoot that raccoon. And if you shoot it and leave it in the pen, the elongateds and redfoots will eat it. But shoot it and leave it there so other ones can see it. Sure enough, the same raccoon that stole a clutch of elongated eggs this year was in my blueberry trees and eating all my fucking blueberries about 3 weeks ago, and I almost shot that damn thing. But most of the time, I can tell. I can look at them; they're all skinny. I know it's a female, and she's probably got a couple babies sitting in the woods. But I'm like, that's horrible. And then I go, you know what? And fucking babies are gonna steal tortoise eggs in 3 years, so maybe I should kill mom and the babies. I got to do something with some coons. We've been in war for about 2 or 3 years, and it's. As soon as our daubers start laying eggs, like it's no bueno anymore. Like you gotta go.
Well, is the tortoise part of the operation like the long-term project? Like when you semi-retire, you'll still have a bunch of tortoises in a pen laying eggs, or because it obviously takes a long time to get them to maturity, or has that always been?
I think I bought my first tortoise, Max, is my male Colombian redfoot. I think I bought him about 14 years ago, probably in 2012. And I was at some show, I don't even remember where, East Bay Vivarium had him. I was like, man, I want a tortoise. I want a redfoot. So I bought it. And shortly after I got him, man, I'm probably going to get this out of order. I had him for a couple years, and I think I'm right on this. I think I got the 2 Aldabras after I got Max. About 2 years later, I got the 2 Aldabras, and then shortly after that, I was like, man, I want to breed the redfoot. He started growing. I was like, I want to breed. I bought the Aldabras. Literally, those were, man, I want a big rock that walks around in my yard. That'll be cool. So they were literally just for pets. Zero intent on breeding them ever. And it was one of those like, if they breed somewhere way in the future, that'll be cool. But they were just pets. But I wanted to breed the redfoot. So lo and behold, I'm on the lookout. And Colombian redfoots aren't real easy to find. I ended up finding 2 female Colombians that were about 22, 25 years old, I think, when I bought them. And I got them from Sam Pascucci down in Florida. And it was funny because I called Sam about them, and he had imported them from Colombia. So that's how I knew a big old lot of hatchlings. And there was a lady pretty close to him that was an elderly lady, and her husband had passed away. And she said, hey, I want 2 turtles to put in my backyard, and I can sit at my table and drink coffee and look out at them every day. So she bought those 2 Colombian baby redfoots, put them in her backyard in Florida, and grew them up for 20 years. And then said, hey, I'm getting too old for this. Sold them back to Sam. I bought them from Sam. So that was my first dipping my toe into breeding tortoises, and started getting redfoot eggs from there. In the process of that and growing up the Aldabras, then lo and behold, I got 2 more Aldabras. So I ended up with 4 Aldabras and the 3 redfoots, and that's all I had. And I enjoyed that. And I think I decided I wanted to branch out, get something else. And so in Chicago one year, someone had some ivory leopard tortoises. Bought 3 of them, drove them home, said, hey, this will be the next new venture. Those things lasted about maybe 3 months, and all of them died. and it's a longer story I can get into, but lessons learned, and anyway, long story. They died, but after that, I was on the hunt for some elongated. So bought some 4 elongateds in Daytona, and this is, like I said, probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And started growing those up, built a pen for them, and I just always liked that species. Personally, I think it's a great species. I don't know how great it is as a pet species, and I say that because they're kind of shy, even after age. Like I tell people, they stay small. I think they're pretty because they're yellow. If you get high yellow ones, or even a little bit of brown, but I mean, it's a pretty tortoise. They're really cool, but they're not outgoing and outward like a redfoot. So, if you want your kids to go out there and play with them, like the minute they see you, they're going to kind of hiss a little and suck their head in, and they're going to be scared. Just, I don't find that they're very outgoing. I like the species though, and they're a ton of fun. But anyway, got those, and then lo and behold, from there, decided I saw a hypo redfoot and said, "Oh man, I want some of those." Like, you dive off into genetics after a little while. It's a little bit of a stranger genetic because it's not a ball python. It's going to be years before you want to talk about a recessively inherited tortoise project. It takes a little while, but found a guy who's a really good friend of mine now, and got hypo redfoot from them. Ended up getting 2 hypos and a cherry head hat. Got another hypo from them a year later, but he had a partner, and his partner, lo and behold, decided he was going to move a little bit. We'll get to that.
Are these no? These aren't the hypos.
That's not a hypo.
Okay, it's the albino. All right.
Yeah, that's an albino. I'll get to that in a little while. But so his partner is moving, needs calls me up and goes, "Man, Tim, I need somebody to take my collection for a couple of years while I get moved and settled in." So I take on 3 more Aldabras and 8 Galapagos tortoises from them to shepherd for 3 years, which I still have. We're approaching 3 years, and I'm about to find out how that's going to go, because I don't think he's doing reptiles at all anymore. So I don't know what I'm going to do with all these freaking tortoises if they end up here. But so in the process of that, then, that albino redfoot, I ended up watching those for about 4 years in Daytona, and pulled the trigger on one 2 years ago. So I'm raising that thing up. They're a little more problematic than I thought, and that's a whole nother long story, but that one's going to grow a little bit slower. But so the tortoises turned into just a side project that I really enjoy. I allowed everything else that I have that's outside of ball pythons. Ball pythons is where I spent Tim Bailey money way back when. I probably stopped spending my own money on the business, the hobby, the collection, whatever you want to call it, probably somewhere around 2010. And the business has been self-supportive since then. But I've gotten to the point where I take ball python money, and I'm not saying I don't enjoy them at all anymore, but I've used that money to buy a bunch of stuff that I really enjoy and just we're passionate and have fun with, and even some stuff that I'm not really ever going to make much money off of, but it's just fun. So, especially when the hypo herd starts producing hypos, obviously I'm going to make some money off that. If my Aldabras, which I ended up out of 4 with 1.3 Aldabras after getting those things sexed. So at some point in time, I probably will have Aldabra eggs. I'll have hypo redfoot eggs. I'm not making much money off of redfoot or elongated babies. But, those things probably pay for themselves, especially with the money I spent on the pens and the money I spend on food every year. But that's a lot of fun. At some point, it'll probably become profitable, but that was never really the goal.
Right. I just don't imagine there's a lot of competition with Aldabra eggs. You know what I mean? So, like, even if it's a long haul to get there, you could sort of let them coast because, like, the infrastructure's in. I've
seen in the last probably 6 or 7 years, I've seen a lot more Aldabras for sale, and some of them are imported, and some of them, a handful are produced captive in the U.S. But when you see those numbers go up, and I just think about what's the real market for those,
right?
So I almost hate to see those things being produced, and I'm at the point now where, and I thought about it a lot when I got them, and kind of knew what I was getting, and you think you know what you're getting, and even if you really prepare for it, when you got a 270-pound tortoise, that's a different thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this past year, every year it happens, you know, I'd say probably somewhere in maybe October, but definitely November is where we get that year where, okay, I can look at the forecast, and throughout the winter, I look at the forecast every day to figure out what I need to do heat wise and tortoises, and pick up and don't pick up and do this. And so, you know, they get locked out of their houses for a UV perspective. And I learned that the first couple of years I had Aldabras is they'll sit inside 22 hours a day. And I started having some misshapen growth on the shells and realized that, you know, during the summer they were inside. They'll just sit in the house and sleep all day long, come out and eat for a little bit, and they weren't getting enough UV, had some misshapen. So I got to the point where the last day that I see that it's below 55 degrees, that's it. I close the buildings, they're kicked out. They're outside all day, all through the summer and fall. But once we hit winter, I got to look and see. And the first time I see, you know, a day where we're going to drop below 52 degrees or so, then I go open the building up. And it'll normally take them a day or two to realize the building's open. Because when I close it, they'll go to the door for the first week after it's closed, like, hey, we want to get in here, and they can't. So when it's time, you know, 4 or 5 months later, to open the building up, it takes them a day or two to realize it's open. But then they pick themselves up pretty much every night. I have a pet, sulcata, that's hard-headed. He'll never pick himself up. So I got to pick him up almost every night. Once we get way into winter and it's been a month, maybe he will. But every now and again, I'll get one of the Aldabras that won't. And I don't know if it's one of those. I suspect it's where it's one of those days where it may have got into the 70s or 80s, but it's going to be 45 at night. And so they're out because it's nice. And then once it starts getting dark, that's it. They'll bed down. They're not moving. Mm-hmm. So this past year was the first year, like my big male, he's got to be close to 280, 300 pounds now. I can't pick him up anymore. Last year, about 3 years ago, was the last time I could pick him up and walk with him. And about 2 years ago, I picked him up, but I couldn't move my legs. And I went, oh, okay, now I got a problem. Well, now there's, you know, I can't move him. And it was really cold. And I can get him to walk to the house, but it takes about a half an hour to get him to walk from one side of the pen into the house. I didn't have time. So I called my son-in-law. I was like, hey, get over here. And we had the 2-man carry him in there. So, yeah, man, I almost feel guilty breeding Aldabras. If you're prepared for them, they're an awesome species. They're so freaking cool. I love them. And we take a picture every year, my grandson now on his birthday, of him riding my male Aldabra, just because it looks cool. But when I have friends and people that are non-reptile people ask me about them, I'll show them a picture of my grandson sitting on an Aldabra, and, you know, they think that's wild. It looks like
Lisa asked if a dog could help with the raccoon issue, like a livestock guardian dog that stays outside all
probably
the time.
so. But when I got divorced, that was the last time I had a dog. My daughter wants me to get another dog, and I said I need another animal to take care of in my life, like a hole in the head. So yeah, it'd be great, but I don't want to take care of a dog. I got too much crap to take care of now. I don't have time to take care of another dog. Yeah, there you go. That's Solo. That's my male Aldabra. That's at the house behind him with that sliding door. That's Generation 3 house build. That's the other kicker I tell everybody. You get big tortoises like that, you will start learning. Every time you think you build something and you're like, I figured out how not to get them to destroy this, they'll destroy that. So that's about 14 years of knowledge built into that house, and it's almost perfect at this point. But that door, that sliding door, there's 3 tweaks to that door. They ripped the whole door off of the freaking building 3 times before I figured out how to keep it on the building.
Does it have to be like insert into the wall so they don't like find the edge? And
no, so it's hard to tell, but on the bottom. So when I first did it, there's 2 rollers up there rolling on a track to roll, and so I was like, man, it's a pretty heavy door. I don't know what they'll do with it. So I just had the door hanging there, and I said it should be fine. Well, I kind of knew better, but I wanted to see what would happen. And so the problem with them is once they see light, and I mean, unless you have a sealed building, when the sun comes up, they'll see it. They're going to try to go out into the light. Mm-hmm. So with nothing on the bottom side of that door, they just started pushing, and at 250 pounds, they ripped the whole goddamn door, and that whole freaking silver rail that it's sliding on, that rail and the door were all laying on the ground, and they're freaking walking around in the pen. So I put on the bottom right hand corner of that door, there's a hook latch that I can lock that door so that they couldn't push that bottom. The top is anchored from the rail, and the bottom was anchored. It couldn't do anything.
So Quirky asked, so they're just like pushing forward.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. So a few days later, they saw light again, and they pushed on the bottom, right behind my grandson's knee, where that gray and white meet, that bottom left side of that door. They pushed on that, and then ripped the freaking snap lock out and the whole door down again. So lo and behold, I go find I bought all the hardware for that rolling sliding door at Tractor Supply, and I get over there, and sure enough, they've got a roller that you can put on the bottom that it attaches to the building, and the door rolls inside of that roller. And it's kind of good because it keeps the door rolling straight back and forth, but it's an anchor point for that bottom left corner. So once I had the bottom left and bottom right corners anchored, and the top of the doors anchored in the freaking rail that's lag bolt into the building, now they can't get out of there. So about 3 times of them ripping the door off, I finally figured out how to keep it on. Now they can't get out. So for about 3 years now, they don't come out when I don't want them to come out. So we're good now.
Have you ever thought of putting them on like a cart, like maybe jacking them up somehow?
So
a jack,
yes.
And then rolling a cart under them.
I have a idea in my brain, and I didn't get around to building it this last winter. I said I was gonna, and I never did. And I'm probably going to build it this summer so I can test it before winter. Fortunately, my son-in-law is also a welder, so I told him, hey, if my idea works, I'm going to get you to weld me up something, but I just want to build it all out of wood for now. But essentially, this is the problem with, and I tell everyone, I know some people who have used like hand jack truck, and they'll modify it and do this. And, when you're moving in, and I have some softer ground if it rains, you're not going anywhere or anything like this. You need like turf tires. So I have an idea in my head that it's kind of hard to explain, but I've seen it. But essentially, it also will be me flipping the tortoise on its back, rolling this cart next to it, and then flipping the tortoise up onto the cart to the point where its legs can't touch the ground. Which is that's how we weigh them. Like we'll put them on a 5-gallon bucket so their legs can't touch the ground, and put that on, one of those old doctor's scales or any kind of scale. So you keep their feet off the ground, they can't move you good. So then I keep the feet off the ground, I can move them around. But I have a old pull cart, with lawn tires on it that I used to use for them when they were starting to get real heavy and I couldn't walk with them. I could still pick them up, put them on the cart, but they're to the point now where maybe one of my females I can pick up, but the rest of them I can't even pick up to put them on the cart by myself. I need help. So then I'm to the point where I'm like, they're not 500 pounds yet. So if I need help, then hey, they can just help me carry it. Which females will never get that big, but maybe
right? Can you lure them with treats? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yes. But like I said, if it's night and it's
dark
and it's cold, they move slower in the cold.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, I can get a treat. Or, and I've got them, they're pretty good now. I can kind of hand maneuver them. I can put my hand on their back and walk them. But it takes like 40 minutes for them to walk.
What's their favorite treat?
Hibiscus flowers, which you won't have in the winter,
Right. But do they like bell peppers or cactus?
Yeah. Squash, yellow squash, zucchini, freaking out, and I have that stuff year round because I'm feeding the baby elongateds and breadfoot. Anything that's inside, they get those. My connexus get that, so I've got that stuff all the time. But you can actually get like a satin flower. You can go to Hobby Lobby and buy a fake flower.
And trick them.
Red, they'll just go crazy. But here's the other kicker: it's red,
right?
And now here's the other problem is I've got a headlamp. And normally I put my red light on because if I put my white light on where I could show them and hold it on the flower, I have had where the other Aldabras are in the house. I'm trying to get this one in there, and they look out and they go, hey, what the fuck's going on over there? And then all of a sudden they come out of the house to go see what's going on. Now I got 2 tortoises that aren't in the house. I'm trying to get this one in the house. That one's walking over here to me to find out what the fuck's going on. So to get in them at dark to see the flower. Like, so it's all kinds of problems that you'll never think about until you've done it 10 times.
Do you like preferentially not do winter shows because it makes you not able to respond to temperature changes?
No. So after I got divorced, my ex-wife used to do that stuff when I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now my daughter does it, and my daughter fortunately lives a quarter mile away. And my grandson loves to come over here anyway. He's not too far away from really being able to help. But essentially, when I go to a show now, most of the time, like a weekend Conroe show, something like that, she don't need to come over. Everything's fine for a few days. But like if I go to Tinley or Daytona, or I'm going for like 4 days or more, then I pay her $50 a day, and she knows the routine. It's like, hey, go in the rat room every day, make sure the rats have food and water, feed the connexus, feed the water turtles, feed the multi-tours, pick these up. She knows the temperatures. I got lights and timers on all the heat lamps. And hey, if it's this cold, you need 3 lamps, and you only need 2 if it's this cold. And pick these up and put them out. And so she's got the whole deal.
That's really good of her. No.
Well,
it helps a lot.
Sucks for me because it costs $50, but it's great for me in that, like, I pretty much. The first time I really traveled 3 years ago, I went to Abu Dhabi, and I was going for 8 days. And it's like, okay, now we got a problem. But, fortunately, got someone that knows all the ropes. I mean, she knows everything that goes on. So she can hold the fort down. She could probably do it for a month easy if I needed her to.
Do you still vend Daytona every time?
What's that?
You still vend Daytona every time?
Yes. Yeah. I started that 2014, I think, was the first year that I vended there. And
how do you feel about Daytona now versus 10 years ago? What does it feel like?
The crowd is a little bit different, but I tell everybody, so it's the only show that I vend with one table. And in 2014, I hadn't been to Daytona in probably 5 or 6 years. And I said, man, I'm going to Daytona. And then I said, hey, dummy, if you're going to go, like, bring one table of stuff and see if you can't pay for your trip. So my goal is always to bring a table worth of stuff. It doesn't take long to set up. It's easy to man it. I'm not there to make money. So it's the one show that, like, I get people, they'll call me because they'll grab my business card and they're like, hey, I want to buy a snake. Where you at? I'm like, I'll be there in like 20 minutes. I'm like, well, I can't wait that long. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not here to sell snakes. So I'll leave my table and go wander off and do something. And I don't treat my customers that way. Most of the time I come running back if I can, but I will wander off a lot more at that show than normal. Fortunately, I got, Jeff and Chad right next to me, so they'll watch it for me. Marshall used to do it with me, so, we can roam. But I bring one table worth of stuff just because it's not a hassle, but it pays for my show every year that I go. But to this day, it's my favorite show. So I don't, and that's why I wanted to go back. I miss it so much.
It's your favorite show because of the people you get to hang out with there?
Yes. That, and I will say the last 2 years, it's changed a little. And I'm curious to see if that's how it's going to be. But, up until about 2 years ago, it was the only show that I tell people, hey, when you leave the show and you go to the Hilton, everybody is in the lobby of the Hilton. And, if for anyone that hasn't been, it's a gigantic Hilton. It's actually 2 towers. They're connected at the bottom. It's probably, I bet you it's at least 3/4 of a mile from one end of the lobby to the other. So if you stay in the North Tower and you're in the South Tower, like, it can take you sometimes an hour to walk from one end of the hotel to the other. Because there's, 3 bars in there. There's an outer balcony out
3 bars?
Yeah, inside lobby. So it'll take you an hour because you stop and, oh, look at so-and-so. You stop and you chat and talk. And so everyone congregates in that lobby. And there will be people in that lobby at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's my favorite show because of that ambiance piece. Plus just
but in the last 2 years, you said you thought it changed. How did you think it changed?
That crowd has diminished a little bit down there. A lot of people I really hang out with almost every year are still down there. But, if you walk from one end of the lobby to the other, going to your room to go do something in your room and come back down, like you won't find as many people congregated around as it used to be. It's still it's still way more than Tinley. You know, Tinley, everyone used to be in the lobby. Now you go to Tinley, and I mean, there's almost nobody downstairs anymore. You walk down there at 10 o'clock in the bar, and it's there's not very many people down there
Well, what do you think happened? Just the vibes are off? Are we all?
Man, I don't know what happened, you know, but
Okay.
I mean, people definitely scatter, and I mean, a lot of people now kind of get their little clique, whoever their little group is, and I mean, hey, I'm as guilty as the next guy. I got, you know, the same people I hang out with all the time. They're my great friends, but you know, they'll all go run out and go to dinner somewhere, and you don't see anything, you know, you don't see anything. But Daytona was the one show that always the show never ended when the show ended, you know. It on Sunday when everyone went home. You know, it started on freaking Thursday at freaking 2 o'clock p.m. And if you didn't want to go to sleep, you could talk reptiles until Sunday at 5 o'clock. You know, and there was still a lot of people that stayed Sunday night and flew out Monday morning. You know, there's a lot of people would do that. It was the one show that the show never ended. So to me, I always loved it, you know. And then we got our little routines, you know, that we do. So, you know, we go swimming Friday night every night, you know, in the ocean at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then go eat pizza at Napoli until, you know, at 2:30 in the morning, and then go to bed. So, you know, I love that show. I love the whole vibe, the whole feel of that. And man, it's a shame because that show is gotta be on, you know, numbered years left, and then it's done. So, you know, who knows?
Do you think that was a lightning in the bottle type show? It'll never quite be replicated anywhere else because it just can't. It's like not. It will never have the same thing again.
Man, I'm inclined to say yes, and
Okay.
and you know, for years I talked to quite a few people about trying to, and I debated on putting it on, and I don't have time to do it, but I've talked to quite a few promoters and tried to get some people to do it, and you know, I've found out it's a little more difficult than we thought because of some laws and whatever. But I wanted to put a show on the Gulf Coast, like in Mississippi, on the beach, and I always just thought Daytona is another one that I know there are people that will come, you know, Monday or Tuesday before the show with their family, and so they turn a show into a vacation, and they'll stay at the beach for a week. You know, I'm like, man, a beach in the summer. You know, if you did one like in Biloxi, which is about 45 minutes from New Orleans, so people can go to Bourbon Street, they can still go to New Orleans and do that party. They can go to the casinos on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. You have a show there. The beach is there. You know, you do it in the summer where people can do a family type event there. And so I always thought it would happen. Mississippi's a little bit of a pain in the ass. There's not a lot in Alabama you can do it. So now all of a sudden you're stuck in Florida. And my other kicker was, hey, get away from Florida. Get away from the Florida goddamn permit you got to have, and import permits and all the paperwork headache and hassle and all the shit you got to do to get into Florida. So do it in Mississippi. And that's been problematic. So I really think, you know, after all the years that I tried to replicate something like that, I think it may have been a show that never happens like that again. You know, and hey, I'm not telling you there aren't venues that may not be conducive to that somewhere. But you know, I did Pomona twice, and you know, Pomona wasn't any different. You know, after the show's over, everyone goes, you know, to the Five Winds, and everyone's gone. Same thing with and when we had it in Dallas was a little bit better because a lot of people still stayed at the Sheraton, so there was a pretty big crew at the Sheraton, but not like Daytona. And you know, I have not done and been meaning to do Bob Vu show in Georgia, because I think that's probably where a lot of Daytona vendors are going to try to move to whenever it's going for good. And the only other way you can potentially replicate that show is, you know, if somebody decides to put on a show back in Orlando where Daytona started, you know. But the other thing that was crazy about Daytona that ended, man, probably, man, almost even 7 years ago, somewhere around there. I know in 2014, I still remember where Daytona was a gigantic international show. I mean, there were customers from all over the world crawling around in Daytona, you know, and the turtle people loved it because they would come in and buy up hundreds of thousands of dollars on turtles on Friday. Same thing with colubrids. They would come in from, you know, from all over Europe and Southeast Asia. And
do you think they just got their fill? Like the other countries got what they wanted, and they're just good?
Well, I mean, that's a piece of it, but Orlando was a really easy airport to get in and out of. And even some of the ones that still lingered for a while would come into Miami, and that's not too far away, but it's a lot further. Orlando was an easy airport to get in and out of, and why that show did good. But there's not really any other shows that are outside of Chicago that are easy to get in and out of from an international standpoint. And then I really don't know much about Chicago, but here's the kicker: any of those international customers that come in, they've got to export those animals, so you need a port of entry, and a port of exit. Miami was it for that, so that's what was so unique there. Now you got Seattle and New York. I mean, we're not doing any shows up in the Northwest that are gigantic shows that I'm aware of. I don't go up there, but maybe they have something. But so it's like that was part of why that whole thing just worked. You got a beach, you got a vacation piece. It's in the summer. The weather's freaking awesome. You got an international outlet. You got a port of entry. You got a big giant venue. There were so many parts and pieces to that show that made it work for what it did.
I just feel like people have been chasing after a phantom Asian guy with a fanny pack of cash for 15 years. And I'm like, I'm sure that person did exist, but it's almost like the ghost of that person lingers in the subconscious, because I've never seen a phantom Asian guy with a fanny pack of cash.
Well, I know two of them, and I've seen them frequently and took a lot of cash out of that fanny pack.
I love it. But it was always at Daytona?
No.
Okay.
That was Dallas. That was Chicago, especially Chicago. Tinley.
Dallas when it was at Arlington, or Dallas when it was at Dallas?
Arlington when it was in Arlington. Yeah, I don't remember seeing anyone in Dallas.
What about strippers? Have you seen any strippers?
What's that? I've brought some of the Asian guys with fanny packs to the strip clubs. So
that's the secret. That's what we've been missing out on.
No, that's not the secret.
Okay.
Some of them didn't like that at all.
Oh, they didn't?
No, you had to drag them there.
They were shy. 2016 was the last time Kevin saw a albino red tegu in Daytona. Yeah, Florida's busted. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
Florida, legally.
I mean, hey, I'm here to tell you, Louisiana is sliding down the slope. It's a pain in the ass. I should have known we were having it, because Phil had called me last year about some new legislation in Louisiana, and actually ended up getting, he called me, he goes, hey man, they're trying to do some cage size restrictions, and hey, I've got the chief economist for Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Do you mind if he comes to your facility and show him around and talk to him a little bit about stuff? And so Jack came and spent 3 hours here, and I talked to him, and we got some cage sizing legislation changed to something that was more conducive to us. So that was good. So I knew something was coming, and then the law passed, and then I guess I didn't pay attention to it. And I'll make the story as short as I can, long story. But I found out there's a new prohibited reptiles permit, which they're prohibited, so it's not easy to get. And there's a restricted reptiles permit that you have to have. And lo and behold, I have 3 species on the restricted permit list. So I had to get my restricted permit, which has been, I still don't have it, but I finally got word about 2 weeks ago from Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Hey, you've supplied everything we need. Like, we're going to issue your permit. It's coming.
Are you allowed to propagate a restricted permit animal? Or you are? And
I'm getting ready to have not an argument, but another discussion with them about, because one of the things, when that popped up is, if one of the things like, hey, we need some more pictures and video of some caging, and I only see cages for 24 animals, and you got 29 listed on there. And I go, hey, by the way, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. One of the racks is a duplicate of this one, but I'll take a picture of that one. And can you label which species is in which tubs? And so I'm doing, I go, but hey, by the way, the 29 has now turned into 28 because I sold one in the meantime of trying to get this permit, because that's what I do, is breed and sell these things. But it doesn't say anywhere in the language that I have to maintain an inventory. I have to give y'all one. Do I got to maintain it? And then she's like, yeah, you need to let us know if you bring something in or out, and blah. And I went, okay. I said, well, can I just send y'all an email every 30 days? Well, you really need to do it like within 2 weeks. And then I'm like, who do I need to send it to? And I haven't got the answer to that. Who I need to, because by the way, I sold another boa while I was in Conroe last weekend. So now I got to tell them again.
The boas count? Are they too big? Is that the problem? Too big.
So that's what I don't understand.
Okay.
Because the other thing that's on that list that I had to add was Morelia spilota. So my diamond pythons, which I mean, they don't get over 5 feet, you know. But I suspect the reason they put it, and I think it's all Morelia genus, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and read it. I only care about Spilota and Spilota because that's what I have. But I suspect they think those things may actually, if they escape, be able to survive the winters because they can get colder. Even if they're not lengthwise. But then BCI is on that list, and BCC, you know, all boa constrictors, period, all of them. Our old law used to be if you had a boa over 8 feet, you had to register it. But I can sell you a BCC that'll get 9 feet, but you don't have to have the permit when you buy it because it's only 2 feet long.
Right.
The BCC I understood, but BCI, I said, man, I've got hog islands, and then even my opals have blood in them, which the blood gene is Central American, so it's dwarfed. You know, so none of my BCI are over 5.5 feet. I mean, I might have one maybe. I don't even think she touches 6 feet. One of my original double hats that's, you know, probably 14 years old. But so anyway, my BCC, my BCI, and Morelia Spilota had to be on that list. And then, you know, they just told me, hey, you know, when you acquire, and acquire can be via birth, you know, you just have to update us. And I'm like, that's a pain.
Do you have to request a permit to import into state? Like if you want to buy?
There's no import permit.
Okay. Well, that makes it a little bit better.
But I'm going to challenge them because the girl I'm talking to, I know is not the chief biologist. And some of the questions I asked her, she didn't know the answer to. But lo and behold, the chief biologist walked in while I was talking to her on the phone. And so she answered some questions. But I want to tell them, hey, y'all can interpret however you want. But this inventory maintenance that I have to do, I have to maintain this inventory with y'all throughout the year. I need y'all to show me that in the language, in the regulations, in the law that was passed, that I need to do that. Because if it's not in there, I don't care how you interpret it. I don't have to do that, and I'm not doing that. When I apply for my permit next year, I'll let you know what I have. You know, because
right. It does seem onerous. Because like in whatever, a lot of states, you just report like the end of the year transactions by submitting like this is what happened all year.
Yeah.
You know, I sold one.
But what's funny is, you know, I mean, the only reason I got that permit at all is because number one, which, you know, the biologist I'm talking to, she goes, hey, do you have your wholesale retail dealer's license for reptile amphibian? I went, yeah. I said, I listed that number on my permit because y'all asked for it on question 5. So it's in there, and I've had that for 18 years. Oh, I see it now. Okay. So like I have that permit. I do almost all the Louisiana shows. I do a lot of stuff with Audubon Zoo. You know, I had Jack, the chief economist from Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, here walking through legislation stuff. I've had multiple people in Louisiana ask me what the regulations state. You know, how hard is a permit to get? What do you have to do? And I'm like, I feel like I need to do it just because I'm kind of a steward of, I want to be above board with everything. At the same time, I know y'all do not have enough people to enforce any of this. If I don't get it, nothing is going to happen.
Like, are they supposed to have the permit before the possession? Like, if they're at a reptile show, can they buy a diamond at the show?
I haven't even asked that question. And the funny thing is, when I decided to put in an application, which was probably a few weeks ago, it would have been in May. The application, when you open it, says application is required to be submitted by January 20th. And I go, what does that mean? It's May. Can I not submit it anymore? What do you mean? That's the deadline for application is January 20th. So it's not a deadline if I can do it today. And if I buy a snake tomorrow, I didn't need it in January. Can I not get it? What does that deadline mean? What does that even mean? No one can answer that question.
Right.
Once again, you can tell it's new because they haven't been asked all the questions yet. But, you know, I told Catherine, this biologist I was talking to, I was like, hey, listen, I'm not giving you any names, but I know a lot of people that are required to have this and do not have it. Probably won't get it because I know y'all can't enforce it. And here we are. But I want to be able to help these people and take some of the question load off of y'all because I know I'm going to get them. That's why I'm asking y'all so many questions about this process. But I finally, took videos and a whole bunch of pictures and labeled this and did that and filled out the application, did all the stuff, sent it to them. And she, last I heard from her was about a week ago, said, hey, we got everything we need and we're going to issue your permit. So we'll see. Should come in soon.
That's good. Did you know Ty Park might be starting a big show in Orlando?
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an extra 2-hour drive, which sucks a little, but hey,
what about like the Texas coast? I guess it'd be competing with Conroe in its own way. But is there a beach there or is it all swamp?
No. I think Galveston's got a beach.
Okay.
They got a beach and a Walmart.
Well, that's a party where I'm from.
Not a lot of draw there,
Okay.
It's not the greatest looking beach. If you want to go fish, it's awesome. If you want to go swim, it's not a beautiful beach. It's not like trashy, but it's just browner water, not super white sand. Like, it's nice. You can do some stuff on Texas Gulf Coast, but that's not like a destination type show, and I don't know if they have anything because it's not a huge draw. I don't know if they have like the kind of hotel or the kind of atmosphere you're going to have, fine dining, a bunch of places to eat. It's not a super big tourist beach destination. So
do you think there's too many, this is a spicy question, maybe too many people in the hobby that are too new, so they don't want to sit around and talk shop because they're like, that's why there's no like culture around a lot of shows, because they don't like anything. They're just trying to vend and go home. You know what I mean?
It's possible, but the amount of shit I've learned over the years talking to people and how I got interested in new species is just sitting into a conversation that I didn't really belong at some freaking show and listening and going, that sounds cool. I want to do that. So if they're not doing that, they're really missing out. For sure. And it's one of those, hey, everyone knows that social media is still, it's great and bad all at the same time. And the algorithm is going to set up for what you look for. So you're not going to get introduced to a lot of new stuff, spending a bunch of time on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere else, because it's going to show you what you're interested in. So if you're a ball python person, and nothing against, all the people that have come into the hobby with ball pythons, but you're going to get stuck in a ball python echo chamber. I don't know how much other stuff you get. So if you don't go to shows, which, hey, nothing against Morph Market or Palm Street or any of the other places that are advertising and selling animals, that's great. And I tell people, hey, I'm almost to the point where, do I go to a show? Because I can go to a show and maybe show my snake to 8,000 people in a weekend, or I can put it on Morph Market and 100,000 people worldwide see it. So you don't have to go to a show anymore. You can just go to Facebook and Instagram and Morph Market and you're done. I don't know that that's good. I don't know that you're getting to experience the hobby. You're just experiencing your piece of it. I think there's definitely, you don't have to go to a show like you used to, Do
you think Morph Market, I'm not saying will not exist, but do you think the next phase of the hobby is a return to shows because people need to communicate and be together?
No, I don't think so.
I
think we're past it.
You think we've burned the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a generational thing. Nothing against it, but I think the new generation. And hey, I'm not saying they're not going to want meetups, but I don't know how to explain maybe what's bouncing around in my head, but I just don't see. I know, there's all kind of nostalgia things that people have come back to from clothes and, trends and all kind of stuff. But this is just one that there's some nostalgia there, but I don't know that it ever comes back. And I'm here to tell you, once the door starts getting harder to make money on, I don't know how easy it is to convince someone to spend the kind of money. Go talk to Potter and Bob Ashley and ask them the kind of money they spend on a show, and then ask them the kind of money they lost before they became profitable for, more than a couple of years. So once it kind of starts slipping down the slope, I don't know how you ever bring it back, to get someone to put on a big, giant, kick-ass show, because so expensive to do if you want to put on the one that's going to bring the kind of draw that you want to bring.
Yeah, there's lots of horse and cart problems where you need to attract a bunch of people to be having a lot of fun with a lot of diversity of species and high-end breeders, but they won't go there unless the buyers are there. But the buyers of that caliber won't be there unless they're already there.
Oh no.
So like you keep. So I'm like, oh no. So every time you lose like a good out-of-state vendor to a show, it like reduces the probability that show does well the next time and the next time and the next time.
You laid it out perfectly right. The cart and horse is perfect. And I've told people all the time, these people come into a show, and I haven't talked about it or heard it as much now, but 3-4 years ago, I'd hear someone come to a show. They'd sit at my table like, man, there's nothing but ball pythons in this show. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, cool. I said, hey, what'd you buy while you were here? Oh, I didn't buy anything. I was like, oh, okay. So you didn't buy anything, and then, or you see someone who's a ball python, it's all over the place, and they got a ball python, and I go, well, man, what do you want to see? Oh man, I want to see, diamond pythons. Cool. You going to buy one? No. I'm like, well, so you want to know why you don't see other shit? Because when people bring other stuff, no one buys it. Hey man, I'm not here to be a petting zoo or a curio collection to show you cool stuff. Vendors are there to sell animals and make some money. So they're going to bring the product that the customer is buying. So if the customer's not buying tortoises and Pac-Man frogs and, rare species of python, then no one's bringing that shit because they don't want to drag their freaking $2,000 snake here to show you and have 8 people want to freaking hold it and take a picture and then not buy it. Like, I don't want to stress out a Bolin's python to bring it to a show so you can see it.
Yeah.
Show if I'm gonna sell it, and if no one's buying it, I'm not bringing it. You want to know why the shows are full of ball pythons? Because that's what people are buying.
Right. I think the hard part of that is it's like a positive feedback loop where it gets worse and worse over time. Like the people who would have bought a Bolin's know there's not going to be a Bolin's, even if there is one there, then they don't go. The people who are there that are complaining about it wouldn't buy anything because they're not ready for Bolin's. Yeah. Because they can't afford it. And so it becomes like a feedback loop where the show gets more and more pet beginner friendly and even harder and harder. And then the show becomes a big pet slop festival. Oh, yeah. And that's fine.
Well, then if you're really looking for something rare, like who has it, you just reach out to them directly.
Right. Shipping. Okay. Well, here's a spicy question. With the FedEx losing its mind and closing half of the ship centers, do you think shipping will become less important, which would put more emphasis on shows again? No. You think?
And I only say that because I hadn't changed my business at all. I found another avenue to be able to freaking do that. So,
do you do UPS or do you?
No, I do FedEx, but it took me a little while, because they didn't even give us notice when mine closed. So
do you make them pick up at your house?
No. I'll bring it. But so I'll get there. So mine closed and when it literally, I went and shipped a snake and on a Monday probably. And the next Monday I go and that thing's closed. I had no idea they were closing. And there's a sign on the door that says, hey, it's about maybe a quarter mile away. Go to the FedEx Kinko's over here to drop off your packages, which to 95% of the people that are coming to that FedEx hub, that works. So I go over there and there's a nice lady in there and I walk in the door, and the manager's in there. And sure enough, I got some snakes. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I go over there and I think the sign on the FedEx hub door said they'll take packages till 6 o'clock. And so I get over there at like 5:45 and she goes, oh, no, the truck left here at 5. They have a sign up that says packages have to be here at 5. I'm like, dude, the hub's got the sign wrong. So I drive home with my packages, freaking unpack them, call my customers. Hey, we'll do it again next week. So the following week, I get over to there on time now. Got like 3 boxes with me. Same manager lady's there, and she goes, oh, are those snakes? And I said, yeah. She goes, we can't take those. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Yeah, FedEx can take those. And so that's when I find out, no, it's FedEx Kinko's leaves it up to each individual store on whether or not they'll accept that. So she goes, we don't accept those here. And I was like, man, so I'm explaining to her my problem and this. And she goes, hey, so the FedEx truck driver is there while I'm there. And she says, you can go bring him. If he'll let you can just put him on his truck and he can scan him. So I asked him and he's like, I normally wouldn't do that. But hey, this time, we'll do it. But you need to find something else. So lo and behold, I find both of those places. I find a place that's actually closer to me than my old hub. Because now the only 2 hubs we have servicing the entire New Orleans area are both about 3 miles apart from each other and about 5 miles from the airport. So it's like an hour and 10 minutes for me to get there. I'm not playing that game. But this is just a privately owned pack and ship center.
Like a third party.
Yes. UPS, DHL, FedEx, mail, PO boxes. They do everything in there. Super cool guy that owns that. Talk to him. He's like, I don't care. We'll take all this thing. We'll take anything you want to. The only problem with that is they are still just like a FedEx, Kinko's, Walgreens, anything else, which is the truck comes and picks up from there. Mm-hmm. So the truck picks up from them at 3:45. And I mean, he's almost spot on every day. So now instead of me getting there and putting a snake in a box on a truck in the dead of Southeast Louisiana freaking temperature in summer, at 7 p.m. that's driving straight to the airport, I put it on a truck now at 3:45 that I know is going to drive around for a couple hours. I don't know. Right. But, it's worked so far. It hasn't caused me any problems. So I think people are going to find ways to get around that, and shipping is still, and I mean, hey, I don't feel like the volume of my shipping has been impacted at all.
I've had impacts on like the customer side where they're like, my FedEx center just closed and the nearest one is 3 hours away. Will you ship to my house? And I'm like, well, your weather's fine. Sure. But
so for me, and that's where I say, hey, I have shipped year round for 20 years. And people, and I get people sometimes that like, they don't have the money to buy a snake and it's in the middle of winter. So like, hey, can I put it on a payment plan? And, that way you can ship it to me, when the weather's good. And I'm like, yeah, weather's good. I can ship you next week. And they're like, oh, you can't ship next week. I go, yeah. No, I've been shipping, I'll ship down to 25 degrees. So like to my house, I'm like 25 degrees. That's my bottom. That's my basement. I've done it safely for 20 years. I'll ship it to your freaking door.
What about on the top side? What's your thermal limit daytime to the house?
What do you mean? Like upper limit?
Yeah.
100.
Okay. So you'll let it be on the truck all day to a rural address in 100-degree weather?
The rural one will get me a little bit, and I may bump it back to like 95.
Yeah. It's hot as hell here, brother. I wouldn't put a snake.
Here's the other kicker. This is another thing that I don't see people do a lot, and it's drove me nuts, and I've seen a trend that I don't like. But I learned from Tracy Barker years ago. Tracy said, hey, when it's hot as balls in your house, turn on a little window unit and see how easy it is to change the temperature in your house. It's hard because it's a large volume of air. Mm-hmm. So to change the temperature in a large volume is difficult. So don't ship shit in a little tiny ass box. Mm-hmm. Tracy would send me a blood python in a 16 by 16 by 8, this big giant box with one little snake in there. But it's hard to change the temperature. I see all these people now shipping snakes in 6 by 6 by 6 or that 7 by 7 by 7, that little tiny square box. And I go, oh, y'all shit's dying all the time? Because that's fucking horrible. Don't ship in that.
Don't you think people just got like really cheap and weird when shipping prices went up? They're just like, fuck, I need to jam it in the smallest box possible.
So I tell people now, especially shippers, I go, congratulations, you shipped that for $30. And it could have cost you $48 to ship it here. So $18 more, but now you're giving your customer $400 back because the fucking snake died. Mm-hmm. Spend an extra couple dollars and make sure the animal is delivered safely. I never ship in less than a 12 by 9 by 6, smallest box I've used.
Right. Me too.
Plenty of times I'm using a 15 by 11 by 7, and I'll eat the extra $8 to get it to your door. But you know what? I know I can ship it to you in the dead of winter. No one else is shipping. No one else will do it, and I'll get it to you perfectly fine.
Yeah. Have you messed around with phase packs at all?
No, and I need to learn that a little because I think it's great technology. I've had a couple of things shipped to me with those lately, and it blew my mind on how they work, and I had to go do some research, and I'm like, this is fucking unicorn dust shit magic.
Yeah, how's that work? I love them. I do them every time, and since they're reusable, technically my customer could use it whenever they want, a year later, 2 years later.
Oh yeah.
But like, we should all be shipping back and forth, then we wouldn't have to buy as many or whatever technically. But like,
I say that, but it's one of those, like, they're not super freaking cheap.
No, they're expensive.
It depends on your business.
Yeah.
I think I ship a lot of pets. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ship something it's a one way. That person may never buy another snake. They, probably never going to ship a snake. So, now I spend a lot of money on, and hey, I wouldn't mind doing it if I know you're going to be a repeat customer. Hey, like, no problem. I'll start eating the cost of the face pack because you're a repeat customer spending a bunch of money. No problem. but haven't got there yet. But the other kicker is for newer people, I think it's something they definitely want to look into, and I say that because I can show you. So I've been shipping since 2005 or 6. So 20 or 21 years I've been shipping boxes. I have documented exactly how I've packed every single box since I started shipping. I have it in a notebook I can show you. So I can go back and look at temperatures of, oh man, it was real hot here and cold at the destination. This temperature, but not hot for this, not cold. How many holes did I punch in there? How many heat packs, cold packs, where did I put them? What was the size of the box? All that stuff is documented. I lost one animal in a Delta Dash shipment in June because they left it on the tarmac in Atlanta at like 108 degrees. That was in like 2006. And then we lost some animals, a whole bunch of animals shipping. It's a long story, but shipping FedEx out to Pomona for a show, and had, in my opinion, I was shipping with a buddy, and I think we had too many snakes in the box and whatever. But outside, I've never lost an animal in a shipment ever. So I'm like, man, I've shipped, like I said, my range has always been, 25 to 100 degrees. With a little variance, and I'll look at it. If you're going to touch 100, but you're not there forever, if you're going to touch 25, but for 2 hours, what time of day is it? Where do I think the package is actually going to be? I've got a lot of shipping history that I'm comfortable using 40-hour heat packs because I've been doing it for so long that I know what I need to put in that box to get this animal where it needs to be because I've done it and documented it 1,000 times.
Yeah, you should try the phase packs. They're fun because you could do like a frozen phase and then a 40-hour, so it can be cooler while you're too hot. But if it's going to whatever, Minnesota, the phase will heat up by the time it's overnight, and then the heat pack can still be running when it gets to Minnesota.
Well, and I'm going to start looking into them because, I've got a lot more interest lately in international stuff. And, I'm getting ready to start doing all my own international shipping. So I'm like, that's one where I think there's a huge benefit for that stuff.
Did you get your master CITES?
I've had master file for probably 15 years.
Oh. Which countries are interested, if you don't mind sharing?
Canada right now is a bigger one.
Do they want turtles or bloods?
Bloods.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the only thing on my master file is I've got BCC on there. I've got Python Brawler's My, Python Curtis, and Python Britain-Steini.
Are they wanting the wrought iron project?
Wrought iron, Pied.
Okay.
And yeah, but wrought iron, I've got a wrought iron going to Canada here not too long. Got another couple people in Canada interested in wrought iron and druid stuff, which, my druid, I've got a phantom, but my phantom, I've been introducing them with females. I haven't seen them breeding yet, so I don't know if I'm going to have any production from that stuff yet, but blood stuff mostly. But, some other blood stuff in Southeast Asia, a little bit of blood stuff in Europe. I've had a couple of things in Africa and, UAE request. And so, yeah, I haven't done an international shipment in probably 8 years. But I renew my import-export permit every year. Matter of fact, it's due next month. My master file, I just sent off to U.S. Fish and Wildlife about 3 weeks ago because it renews every 3 years. And I had to renew it, which was a pain because they changed the application and put some more shit in there. And so I had to, it's like, hey, there's a button, it asks you, are you renewing an old permit with no changes? Yes. Okay, fill out all this shit. I'm like, I'm renewing with no changes. Can I just send y'all $100 and call it a day?
Right.
I'm not changing anything. I'm not adding. I'm not taking away. Nothing's changed. You'll have all the pictures, all the shit that I've sent y'all for 15 years. Just freaking renew it. No, got to go fill out this new application with some new stuff. And I went and looked at the version numbers. I'm like, what a pain in the ass. But anyway,
well, the ball python people are all, I don't know, relying on Asian markets for a lot right now, leaning heavily on their goodwill. What are your thoughts about that right this second? Like, do you think, I don't know, like it's just going to come back around again because they'll get saturated and then we'll have to come back to figure out this market? They should be prioritizing this market more because, it wouldn't take that much to juju up the demand here, I don't know, send a bell to a famous OnlyFans star. She can talk about how much she loves bells, and then I don't know. It just what's your thoughts on that? Where are we at in the cycle of export only market for ball pythons specifically?
Yeah, man, I'm really kind of out of touch with the ball python.
Uh-oh.
I haven't followed it close for quite a few years. I mean, I'm to the point like, hey,
Is that on purpose? Like you're kind of cycling them
I
out?
got burnout on them.
Okay.
And then I think I have too many, and I've been trying to downsize the collection. I'm never going to get rid of them, and there's some things that I really like, but for the last, I probably started 6 years ago. I realized like, and I mean, way back when, and this is way back when there were way fewer mutations. I felt like you needed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to a point probably about 10 years ago where I went, dude, I don't need everything. And there was a few projects that I intentionally didn't buy because I didn't like them. And they were huge mistakes because I could have made a ton of money. But I was like,
what were those? Do you remember?
I know one of them was albino spiders. There was a spot for a while where albino spiders sold really well. And I was going to dive down that freaking path. I don't know why that one stuck in my head, but that one was one. But there was a few. And I was like, I don't like that. So I'm not doing it. To this day, I don't have a single DG animal in my collection.
Do you not like DG?
When it really, I mean, it's been around a lot longer than most people know. But when it really first started getting kind of prevalent, I looked at it and I said, it's a gorgeous animal. They do some amazing things. But I looked at it and I said, it's another hypo.
Mm-hmm.
I was a hypo fanatic. I bought hypo stuff in 2004. I had hypos. By the time it became prevalent, I had so many hypo projects working. I said, dude, I can't dedicate another 2 racks to another hypo project.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't get any DG stuff. And then it wasn't probably a couple years after that is when I was like, man, I don't need to supply everything to my customers. Too many mutations. I can't do it all. So if I can't do it all, then let me quit doing some of the stuff I like. So I got to the point where I walk in my incubator and I'd cut a clutch of eggs and some stuff would hatch out. And then I'd walk back out and I'd go, I wasn't excited by that. I go, okay, that gene's got to go. It's just to sell all of it. If you're not excited with it anymore, then get rid of it. And so I
think that's good advice.
Yeah.
Especially in Python land where it can spiral out of control, where you have 48 projects, but not enough members of any one project. And
that's my problem because I listen to tons of my friends. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I was talking to Ben Rennick one time. And this is, I think this is like the year after Ben bought a fire. And talking to Ben, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll rack back some fire females. I'm going to keep some back for that project. And I was like, how many did you keep? And he's like, 60.
60
fire females. You held back like I did. And I've never been the volume guy ever. Never. I mean, I got a 2,000 square foot building full of snakes, and I've always had a lot of snakes. But, you ask me about a project, and I'll have like 4 animals, 3 animals. That's my project, and I always worked everything like that. But it was because I wanted a little bit of everything,
Do you think that helped you or hurt you? Because then you're like, you're not overexposed to a bad project, but then you're not exposed enough to a good project.
Well, and so it hurt me and helped me all of this. It hurt me because notoriously for double recessive projects took me forever. I mean,
for ghosts specifically,
it took me 6 clutches, which happens to be 3 years to hit my first hypo clown. By the time I hit it, it's like, oh, you could have just bought one. I'm a hard-headed son of a bitch too. So once I have a project, I'm not going to buy it if I can make it. I'll never do that. Which is another project I lost a ton of money on is bumblebees. Because I wanted to get one and it would have made a bunch of money way back when it first came out. And I was like, no, I got to make my first one. And then it took me forever to make one.
So you're hard-headed, but would you recommend to other people not to be like you and then to just go buy it if it's within their budget anyway?
It depends on your goals.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard people say it forever, and I hate to be the guy that sounds like I'm saying it and, whatever. But I was never in this to make a ton of money. And I have, to be clear, I have a full-time job. I always have, which running a collection with a full-time job is why I never freaking sleep and never have any time to do anything, because it's 2 jobs. But I wasn't really ever in it for the money. It was for the enjoyment of it. And I made enough money along the way. Now I tell everybody, hey, I stay at a nice hotel. When I go out to eat, when we're at a show, I eat whatever the hell I want. Like, I'm not scared to spend some of the money I make, and it makes decent enough money for me to do what I want. And rarely do I say, hey, I want, some project, and I don't have the money to go buy it because the business made that money. But I've never paid myself. I've never taken $1 out of the business ever to me. All the money.
I think people would find that surprising, because people expect things, but then the reality is, like, you have a couple of dog years and then a good year, and then you can buy into a new species or a new project, and you have a couple dog break even years. I think that's much more normal. Would you agree with that?
I mean, it's still somewhat of a scaling issue. It's the last couple years I got kind of lazy and complacent, and some of it had to do with, me getting divorced and whatever. But until the last couple of years, no, I never had a break even or a lose. Like, I always
made a little bit.
Yeah, really good money off of it.
Oh, really good money.
Yeah.
When I talked to Marshall about it, he said he was full-time for 4 years. And he was like, well, it's just not that steady. So he got a job, went down, but then he would make a lot of money. Then he'd make less money. Yeah. And it was fine, but it wasn't enough to replace a job for him.
Well, and so that's, that's a long story, but I was going to do that at one point in time. And then I just decided, hey, I can do this and work my job, and my job pays me really well. I'm like, why would I want to give that up if I don't have to? And so I didn't. Now here's the kicker. I watched Rennick and Justin Kobilka and Ozzy and all those guys I've known for years and knew them way back when, and they made money. So had I quit my job and dedicated, and instead of keeping, oh, hey, look, I made some, double hat freaking whatever, sunset clown, and me, I'll go and keep a trio, oh no, I probably would have kept freaking 20 of them, So if you get to those numbers and scale and you do that, I mean, then hey, it can become a job. But I don't think a lot of people realize, maybe now some of them do, but I don't think a lot of people realize the guys that are really have successful and make a lot of money off of that have much larger collections than most people think they do. Ozzy's probably one of the only ones that's kept it, always did for years. His strategy was keeping it pretty small, but there's a lot of those guys out there that have large collections. And so when you see the money they make, hey, those guys earn that money. They have multiple employees, and they are putting in a ton of work. So, you can make money, but I'm here to tell you, you're going to work to do it.
And the other thing I've noticed about collections, not all of them, but there's a way to be so big, you're almost too big, because then you held back 60 fires or whatever. Yeah. So then, I don't know, you have rodent problems and sourcing issues, and you got to drive 10 hours to go find rodents just for this week because your supplier's low or something.
That's the scaling issue.
Yeah.
People get freaking 10 snakes and then they go, hey man, I can turn this into a business, but they haven't figured out the scaling piece of it yet, and the scaling piece is huge, and it can get out of control really fast. I mean, my building is theoretically, it's the 4th facility that I built, because I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. When I built this one, I said, hey, and I spent quite a bit of time actually sizing my building. I drew it out quite a few times. I still have all the sketches. And I said, hey, if I quit my job and I do this full time, how many animals can I take care of in a week? What's those man hours look like? And okay, here's how many animals you can take care of. How large of a size do you need to keep those many animals in that size? Okay, that's the size of the building I'm going to get, because then the building constrains me to the math that I already did that says I can take care of this by myself. But if I decide I want to get an employee, I can, and great. But so, I mean, I put a lot of math into building that piece there, and I wanted it to constrain me because I knew that I couldn't constrain myself, because hey, here we are building a facility. Obviously we weren't successful at that, so hey,
right. Well,
do it.
Was it just the math didn't overcome the daytime, like the amount of money you were earning didn't overcome the daytime income?
I'm going to tell you the crazy thing is, I don't like bringing politics in anything. Pardon for all my Democratic friends out here, but Obamacare is what killed it for me. So I mean, I actually hired, who is a very good friend of mine now, and I still use him. But I hired a financial planner in 2012, which is when I decided hey, we're going to start doing the work on planning to build a building. The building was built in 2014. 2012, got a financial planner. Hey, what do I need to do to quit my job in 2 years? What do I need to save? How do I got to do this? What do I need to do here? What do I need to do there? I bought my ex-wife a brand new car. As soon as that one thing, I bought it cash. As soon as that was done, traded in the other one, bought myself a brand new car. So I literally I built, the building cost me in 2014, it was probably about $85,000 to build the building. I mean, fully finished out. And I did a lot of that work myself. But that was not credit card. That wasn't a loan. That was snake money. That was selling snakes, paying for it as I go. So in 2014, I literally had 2 brand new cars. They were at that point in time like a year and a half, year old. 2 brand new cars, brand new building. Everything is paid off. No credit card debt. Had a mortgage. That's it. Hey, let's go it's time to turn it on. And then Obamacare hit. And I was like, oh shit, I got 2 kids and a wife and me, and I can't afford medical insurance. Like I can't afford the insurance for this. So I said, well, let's ride it out another year. Lo and behold, long story on how I ended up with my first employee. But my first employee I hired right about that same time came in, and so that made it really easy for me to go, hey, I'm not going to fully grow into the building. Let me leave it where it is. Some of the burden will be taken off of me by the employee. And so, hey, now here's my chance to have the new building. I'm a little bigger than I was, but I have an employee to take up some of the slack, and I can still keep working at my job and getting insurance for my job. And so then I didn't quit. And then that's a wrap. Then I just
so the Obamacare mandate was why you didn't go, because you didn't want to have to buy.
Well, that and the cost. I mean, some of the cost of insurance kind of went up around that point in time.
Yeah.
It was just some evaluations on being able to afford that and do that with 2 young kids, and so I couldn't make the dollars make sense at that point in time.
You should have stayed in the Marines longer, so you could have gotten the retired TRICARE.
I was a reservist in the Marines. So I mean, even then, if I retire as a reservist, what people don't realize, if you retire as a reservist, you still don't collect retirement until you're 65.
Right.
You get it when you get out. I wasn't. So I was a reservist and still working my full-time job while I was a reservist. So I took a 21-month leave of absence from Halliburton, who I worked for. I took a military leave of absence to go to Afghanistan for almost 2 years. So I did those simultaneously while I was buying snakes, and my ex-wife was home taking care of snakes. And literally, I named all my snakes so that while I was in Afghanistan, and when I came back from Afghanistan, Halliburton put me back in the field. I was in an office job, so now I was working offshore. So in Afghanistan and offshore, I would call my wife and go, hey, you need to pair up. And I would give her the name. Put this male with this female, and whatever the names were. Hey, I put I don't even remember them now, but put Iceman with Storm. Okay, no problem. So she'd pair up snakes via telephone, sat phone when I was in Afghanistan.
That's crazy.
Snakes from a satellite phone.
Well, Quirky asked about it. You can decline to answer if you want. But was the hobby part of the relationship all along? Was that why it?
No.
Okay.
We were probably married for 6 or 7 years before we even got into that.
Was she wanting it, or was she a
reluctant
participant?
I've probably told this story a couple of times. Been on some of the older podcasts. Probably been a while, but my daughter, I've got 7 acres of land. I got a big pond in my front yard, like fish pond, and she caught a baby red-eared slider in the pond, so we kept that alive for not long. That's how that works. So lo and behold, that dies. She decides she wants a snake. The pet store down the road from us. That was actually how me and Sean at Exotics by Nature became friends. He had a pet store that I drove by every day on the way home. I'd never noticed it. My ex-wife did. So Shelby decides she wants a snake, so they go to Sean's shop, and she gets there. She doesn't like snakes, so she buys a bearded dragon. So now I got a bearded dragon as a pet. I haven't had a critter at that point in time for probably about 10 years, because my last snake, I had a Mexican black king snake when I went to boot camp. That was in 1995. Yeah, 95. A week before I go to boot camp, that snake gets loose in the house. and my mom and stepdad, no, they couldn't find it. They never saw it. I was in boot camp for 3 months. They never saw that snake. I came home from boot camp on leave, walked in the front door, and it was sitting on the doormat. The door, and I picked it up and I had to give it to a buddy before I went back. So I didn't have any critters. I had critters from the time I was 4 until I was 19 years old. Then didn't have any for 10 years. So we get the bearded dragon, and now that damn thing eats crickets. So I got to go to the pet store once a week and get crickets. So I stop at Sean's. This is 02, I think 02 or 03. Stop at his pet store, every week to get crickets for the bearded dragon. And so, at that point in time, Sean's just getting in the ball pythons, and he's got albino and a hypo, and pied were just coming out, and so watched all that, and then the genetics piece intrigued me, because I didn't have all that when I was a kid. You just had whatever you thought. So slowly, it evolved into, hey, I'm gonna buy a snake, buy a ball python, buy another one. And so, I think I had one ball python. I was thinking about getting another one when we got activated to go to Afghanistan. So I told my ex-wife, I said, hey, if I'm going to be gone for 2 years, let me buy 2 more so they can be growing. And when I get home, they'll be ready to breed. So I left. We had 3 snakes when I left. And then, long story in military anyway, I only ended up going over there for 6 months. We came back home for 6 months. Well, I made a ton of money while we were over there. So came home, and I think while I was home, went to Daytona while I was home. This is between 03 and 04, between tours. I think when I went back to Afghanistan 6 or 7 months later, I want to say we were probably up to about 12 or 14 snakes. Came home from Afghanistan the second time, had another big pile of money sitting in the bank from that, bought some more. And so we were probably at about a year and a half into it, we were probably at about 20 ball pythons. And at that point, it was the collection probably looked like, I want to say I had a pair of pastels, an albino male and a het female, hypo male and a het female, a xanthic male and a het female, pied and a het female, probably like 3 to 8 normal females, and then probably the following years when we bought a pair of Mojaves, pair of cinnamons, and caramel and a hat, a few things. But anyway.
Were those all coming through Sean, or were you driving to Daytona?
Most of that stuff I bought from Sean, but Daytona, that had to have been 04. So that was the Daytona that was in between shows. Sean was real good friends with Brian Barchak. So he was going to introduce you to Brian, because I wanted Xanthics. Sean didn't have that project. And then I know I'd wanted a het pied. Sean didn't have any het pieds. He didn't have any pieds for sale at that time. So when I went to Daytona, he introduced me to Brian in 04. And I went to that show, I bought an Xanthic male, which at the time, like literally everybody in the show knew the snake. It was probably the nicest Xanthic VPI that had been produced in I don't know how long. It was a gorgeous animal. Paid $4,000 for that Xanthic male. Bought a het pied and a het Xanthic to go with it. So that was $6,500 for those 2 snakes. That's how I met Brian and became great friends with Brian. But bought, most of the time if I wasn't buying something from Sean, I was buying it from Brian. But I bought a few animals here and there, like Ted Thompson from Susquehanna Ectotherms. I don't even know if Ted's around still. I think he is, but
I think he is, but he's getting out.
I bought some that hypo stuff from Ted in Daytona. I ended up trying to buy some pieds from Pete Call. Pete wouldn't sell a pied. I ended up buying it from a guy named Jack Briggs, who's long gone from the hobby. Ended up getting a pied from Jack because Pete really was like hold it. He had like 60 female pieds for sale, and he wouldn't budge on his price. I think because he wanted to keep them all. And he ended up keeping like 200 pied females in the first couple of years or something like that. But most of it came from Sean and Brian, and then I'd pick up something that neither one of them had, from somewhere else here or there, and then ended up buying a lot of Axanthic stuff and a lot of other stuff from Corey Henshin, Bradford Cole Herpetoculture, which they're still around.
Right. Well, where do the ball pythons fit in now? Because you said you were cutting ball python projects. Are you cutting ball python numbers, like number of clutches per year, or?
Well, I cut number of clutches a year probably about 2 or 3 years ago when I kind of was starting to burn out a little bit. I mean, I want to say 3 years ago, I probably did like 11 or 12 clutches, which the year before that, I probably did like 100 clutches. Last year, I think I did 7 clutches. This year, I'm probably at about 12. I probably wouldn't mind doing like 20 this year, but I didn't cut down the numbers. So no, I was still feeding, 350 ball pythons and getting like 8 clutches.
Are you you just haven't made the move to sell the older animals, or you just
now it's harder to sell them.
And it is harder to sell them.
Some of that stuff, like I didn't want to match the price, like.
Oh, I know.
And I say that because I'm not 100% competing with the regular market. Not many people. So I'll bring a snake to a show and people are like, I didn't know fucking ball pythons got that big, and it's because it's a 12-year-old female. And they're like, oh, I guess you're getting rid of it because it's too old to breed. And I'm like, I got a 26-year-old female that still lays eggs. No, 12, that's fine. But I've got a very large collection of ball python females to this day still that are 10 to 15 years old. They average 10 to 15 eggs a piece. So I've got a het pied female that lays 14 eggs. I wanted $300 for that. And someone's like, oh, I can get one for $100 over there. I go, not that lays 14 fucking eggs. And you're going to put a 5-gene pied to it. Like, you can't make your $400 back off this snake that quick. So I've got these snakes that lay, I got 2 of these Axanthic girls that one of them laid 18 eggs. I'm not selling
18. That's a carpet python clutch.
I'm not selling a freaking 4,500 gram freaking Axanthic female that lays 16, 17 eggs for $200.
Right. It's crazy to me how suppressed adult ball python prices are. Like, I know everyone hates ball pythons now or whatever, but it's like they're almost cheaper than the babies of the same morph. No,
you're almost exactly right. And so I'm like, then you're not breeding it. So I don't need to sell it to you. Oh, no, I'm going to breed it. Oh, well, then breed this snake to one animal and you'll pay for it in 2 eggs. What are we doing here?
Right. The current customers should don't value the adults, him and hauling over good gene female for any reasonable sum. Yeah, they won't value the girls. It's simple math. It's almost like, I don't know. I go back and forth, and I talk to Shane about this a lot, but there's like generations of keepers in the hobby. But this generation scares me because they don't like anything. They don't value anything. Like age, like time on a snake. Like if it's 1 year older, it's somehow cheaper.
Yeah.
Excuse what? Like it doesn't get more expensive the older it gets.
Because the goal is to produce offspring. So it's like maturity trumps size every day of the week for me. It has for 20 years. Like I'll take a more mature animal over one. Even one I'll take a 3-year-old animal that's a little smaller than the freaking 18-month-old big one. Because I know that one's going to lay eggs quick.
Right. But I just think there's a lot of like, I don't know, like misincentives in the ball python market currently. People are like, I deserve a double visual double het on auction for $200. And I'm like, do you? It's a very entitled time. And I'm very confused.
It's where and I've had a bunch of people, I get insane, ridiculous offers all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm not taking that. It goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. I'm not doing this for the money because I have a job that supports me. So the beauty for me is I don't blame anyone. I tell people, they go, hey man, will you take this? And I go, no, I'm firm on my price. And I'm like, well, so-and-so's cheaper. I go, well, then why are you talking to me? Go buy the cheaper one. You're talking to me because this one's nicer. There's something about this one you like more. I'm not going to match their price. And hey, hey, you offer that guy freaking $100 for his $200 snake. He might have to pay rent next week, so he'll say yes. I don't have to pay rent with this snake, so I want what I want. And now, where it hurts me is I sometimes have snakes I should have sold a long time ago to now I have more money and food in them than I'm gonna get for them today.
Right.
But and so that's where it hurts me sometimes because I won't take that deal sometimes. But I don't have to negotiate because I don't have to sell a snake for anything.
Right. It felt like
once I make enough money to pay the road and bill and the electric bill for the month, I'm good. I don't need to make any more money because I don't have to feed myself.
Yeah, like the stink of desperation is everywhere.
Oh yeah.
On the seller side, because it's been 4 fucking years since the pandemic ended and all that shit was done. Somehow the long shadow of that is still like cast over everything that's going on. And I'm like, we don't even need to be here anymore. We could be moving on. We don't have to live in a world where we're like, oh no, it's not COVID pricing. It's not even about that. It's about like revaluing things like a normal breeding hobby would value them.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's hilarious. It made me think of when you said that. So I have never ever done an auction. I can't stand auctions. I hate them.
Okay. Lay it on us. Lay it on everybody. Your thoughts on auctions.
I don't like them. But
okay.
I had a wholesale deal set up with someone a while back. Because they wanted to buy like 50 ball pythons, and so I had a real good price on all this, and then just long story, I'm not even getting into it, but the whole thing fell through, and I was like, I was selling these for nothing. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to auction them. So to this day, I still go to a show, and I'll bring every time I go to a show, I'll have 2 or 3 animals that I'll price like well under market value, but higher than what I was going to get on my wholesale price anyway. So I'll have this snake sitting on my table for $60. And dude, I had it in Conroe this weekend. Had at least 5 people like, why is that snake so cheap? And I go, because that's the price of it, And then they're like, oh, something must be wrong with it. So like now you're to a point where you can price something so cheap that you won't sell it because they think something's wrong with it.
I do that.
Fuck, I can't win. I can't have retail price because no one will buy it. And so then I put it for a price that I think is so attractive. There's no way it's going home with me, and no one will buy it because they think something's wrong with it. And I'm like, what's wrong with it is it's still at my house. That's why it's priced that way. So I'm like, dude, I can't win. I get this thing for $50. I'm like, why is it $50? I go, because it wants to go home.
Because I want to sell it, sir. Yeah, I definitely do that too. Like there'll be like classes of animals, like this is retail, but you could negotiate me. But like these ones, I really want these ones to go. So they're in the $50 Deli Cup special section.
But that's how I auction. I would rather not do an auction. I would rather just price something slightly under market value, bring it to a show, and sell it to someone who probably doesn't look at morph market anyway. That's the customer.
Yeah, they don't look at morph market.
Their kids got $40 in their pocket. They told their kid as long as they save their money, they can buy a snake. And hey, we found your $40 one. That's the one that's going to buy it. And I'm fine with that. And that's even better. But that's how I auction. I'd rather just do it that way than to auction it off.
Well, when Reptile Ring came around, did you
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Oh, well, I think Wilbank started it.
Oh, okay. I remember what you're talking about. I never got on there, but yeah, okay, that's what.
Okay. I was wondering if you thought it was equal to what's happening now with auctions or different. Facebook auctions.
I think it's equal. I think anytime we've auctioned something, the danger that people don't realize is, and I remember people saying, I remember having these arguments. I go, dude, once you put something up for an auction, that is the price of that animal now, because the customer has spoken and said, this is what we'll pay for that. That is the price. But then I would always hear that argument. Well, if there's none up for auction, then that's not the price anymore. And I go, okay, but you're going to sit on that. No one's going to pay for it because they're going to wait for you to get desperate or someone else to get desperate, put it on auction, and that's the price again.
Right.
So that's the danger with always doing that. And there's been a few times more recently, that's the thing I hate about the NARBC or Daytona or the auctions for US ARC. Those things used to be crazy. People would overpay for something to support that. Now they don't. And so now it's like, I got to a point, I don't know, it's probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I'm like, man, I got a valuable animal I want to put in there. But man, I don't think it's wise to put it in there because I may hurt the market on that animal once everyone sees what someone's willing to pay for it. not worth that anymore. So that's what the auctions to me have always done in the past, and to me still do to this day is
well, at least like an NRBC Tinley charity auction is like private-ish. You know what I mean? It's not as public. Listen, and I don't think auctions are the worst, but I think there's like
there's private. You mean because the whole world doesn't see it?
Right. It's in one room with a set of people in it, and they might talk to each other about the price, but the auctions on like a Reptile Ring or a Facebook auction in the previous cycle, or on Morph Market now, or Palm Street, or what we did, because I did live auctions here, because there was a problem there where there was no like liquidity in ball pythons and no movement. So like nobody was dropping prices and nobody was selling anything in like the 23 season.
Well, so when I told you I downsized my production, that's part of the reason why. I went in my baby room. And so it used to be every year I would go look in my baby room where my for sale stuff was, and I'd have like one full 1075 ARS racks with 75 animals, and then maybe a half.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And most of the time, the top half of one rack, so about 35 animals, were a year and a half old. They just lingered around. I always had that. But I would always never have more than about 80 animals. And then I would go in the next breeding season, produce a ton of shit. And I walked in that room one day and I go, dude, I got like fucking 3 racks of shit in here. I'm shipping 4 boxes a week, maybe. And there's stuff in that rack that's 4 years old. I'm like, dude, I'm not making a whole bunch of more shit just to pile in here and have to feed it all.
Right. Well, that's called being an adult. That's the thing I've like struggled with trying to explain to people. Like, it's okay to be like, hey, I got plenty to sell. I will chill on whatever species. Yeah. If you got a bunch left over. And for some reason, that's a controversial take to slow down.
I don't hate Kobilka and any of the big guys, but I will say I think they're kind of to blame that the younger people feel like, hey, man, if I take a year off, I lost a year of trying to keep up with those guys. I mean, you're never going to keep up with the big people.
Right. But also you like lost a year hemorrhaging extra money on feeders for animals that you didn't need because you couldn't afford.
No, for sure. But it's funny because ball pythons, I never did that. But every other species, I've done that for years. For a long time, I had people who were like, man, why don't you produce more Angolans? I go, because I sell everything I make and the price is strong. I said, if you overproduce them, the price is going to come down. But it's the same thing like with my Hog Island boas. I'll produce a litter of Hog Islands. And I go, hey, dude, until I'm sold out, I'm not going to make another litter.
Right.
So if I sell out in a year, then I'll make another litter next year. If I don't, I'm not going to make any more when I still have some to sell. So all my other species I would produce. And then if I still had animals, then I'm not going to produce them anymore because the market has spoken to me and says you can't sell those. So don't make more that you can't sell.
But I think that's wisdom that other species breeders know, but not necessarily baby ball python breeders. They're like, fuck, I better keep up.
It took me a long time to apply it to the ball python piece of my business. I mean,
I know.
Dumb as anyone else. I was regulating all my other shit that way, and ball python's like, fuck it. The horseshoes everywhere. Eggs all over.
Because like a ball python, they don't lay that many eggs. They don't necessarily breed the second they're born, like a leopard gecko or something. They shouldn't be so cheap, but they are because we have the capacity to make a mega triple shit ton of them.
Oh, that's right.
And if we maybe did a little chill station, everyone was like maybe selective here and there, like this project's not hot, maybe bring this one back.
It's part of why some of the other species and stuff I moved into stuff that's more challenging for the simple fact that I'm like, I'm going to have less competition because people don't want to do hard shit. So I'm going to go do those, so there's something, either species that are more difficult to produce or species that just flat out take longer. And most people don't have the patience.
Right. They're already out before their diamond python. Even.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, BCC, my Peruvian. I'm like, dude, I've watched 3 people freaking come into the ball python hobby, sell their entire collection to that guy. He bought it, stayed in, sold it, and then the third guy's got it, and my BCC is almost ready to breed. She's 9 years old. All right, no, we're almost there. Like, dude, you're never gonna make it there.
Brandon says, feel the majority of non-pet customers are just waiting for auctions to get XYZ because they won't make a reasonable offer on an animal. Do you think that's because they're shy and they don't know that they can make offers? And they want someone to present like the sale
I'm gonna tell
price?
you what, I would love to know where those shy people are, because I get a lot of non-shy people that come to me. I had one the other day, just like flat out, it's like, hey, will you take? And it was like 50% off and free shipping on some snake.
Oh, is it for like a wrought iron or something? Like
no, ball python. No,
okay.
no. Probably this is like I think I had a ball python for like $275.
Okay.
This is one of these ball python projects that I love, and I've never been able to sell this shit. It was what I called faux monsoons. It was the animals I made for years that look like a monsoon. There's no monsoon. And so, but the one this guy was asking about, it's a super pastel, lesser, leopard, pinstripe, yellow belly. I think I have one more gene there. I'm pretty sure it was like 6 genes. And, this thing's like 500 grams. Gorgeous animal. $275. He goes, will you take 175 shipped? And I just replied back with no. Like, nothing else. Just no. But I almost told him, no, but hey, would you do 375 shipped? Like, I want to go up in price when people ask me. Like, some of these people are just ridiculous that they're offering 50-60% off, and it's like, well, I can get it for auction for that. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not auctioning it.
I know.
I don't get mad at people for making the offer, but I tell people, hey, just about everything I sell, I will take a reasonable offer. But man, I'm telling you, I really don't get very many reasonable offers. I either get people that just flat out pay, hey, how much is shipping? Oh, here's retail. Here's what you're asking. Or people that want 50% off. Like, I don't get anything between 50 and 0. There's nothing in the middle of there.
What about at shows? Do people come up and offer you like maybe 20% off and see if you'll negotiate around a reasonable number?
Yeah, and a lot of times I will. And the funny thing for me too is I've been a fan of years for negotiating. Like, I love to negotiate. Like, I love doing that. It's fun. So I will always take less if you're willing to negotiate. The problem is no one knows how to negotiate now, because the negotiation starts now whenever I get it, which is, hey, what's the least you'll take for that snake? So my first response via email, when I get that, whether it's at a show or in an email, what's the least you'll take for that? I immediately respond with, what's the most you'll pay? And then they disappear. But I'm like, man, I have a price listed. There's my price. If you want to negotiate, you make an offer. And then I counter with an offer. And then you counter with an offer. And we end up somewhere in the middle.
Right. Well, I think that's a skill they don't have.
No.
I think they're just they'll just bulk send out.
You never get it if you don't try it.
Right.
Practice is what gets you there. But when you go, what's the least you'll take? I'm like,
wrong. The other thing I wish people would do more, and they don't, is they don't like make it make sense for you. Like, if you do want a steep discount, buy 20.
Yeah.
And then you keep the 5 you want, and you can sell at the show the 15 you don't want. Like, make it good for me, and I will give you 15%, 50%.
I did that this year on, so I had some opal boas this year, and I had a guy reach out to me because I priced my opal boas at $2,200 this year. Last year I sold them for $3,000 a piece last year. Maybe 3,500 or something. But this year, being as I didn't have a lot of ball python stuff, I didn't have a lot of ball python revenue coming in. The cool stuff that I made, I was like, man, I kind of need to sell this fast because I need to get some money. But I'm going to sell it at a price. This is what's the least you'll take price. So this guy's like, hey, man, you have those priced too low. You need to go higher. And I had them listed for like a month and a half already. And I'm like, well, if they're too low, why are they still here? Like, if you think they're too low, hey, you can buy all 3 of them and go make all the money you want. The problem is so many people, and this guy, I never asked, but I'm pretty sure he probably thought that my 2,200 was a negotiable price. My 2,200 on those was a firm price. This is like 7 months ago. He emailed me. I ended up selling 2 of them. $2,200 each. I still have one of those animals that he told me I was offering for too low for $2,200. I still have it sitting in the rack.
Then doesn't that mean it wasn't too low?
Exactly. So it surely wasn't 3,000 that he said it should have been.
Listen, I've had people mansplain to me boa pricing to me, like, your stuff's too low, and I'm like, I'm actually pretty good at figuring out market price of stuff, so I actually think I'm on point.
Well, I love every time
And
someone tells me it's too low, I go, "Hey, man, I'm comfortable with this price. So if it's too low, you buy them all and go sell them for the real price that's so much higher, and look how much money you get to make."
right, and usually
But
if
none
you
of them
like
ever do that.
check Morph Market or something, like that's
Well, the problem is, I mean, I checked Morph Market. I had the cheapest ones on Morph Market. Like, yeah, by Morph Market, I should have had them priced high. Fact of the matter is, everyone thinks that because you put a price, that's not the real price. Someone's going to give you less for it. But I was like, no, no, no. That's my firm price, and it says firm. And everyone that called wanted a discount. I said, no, go buy it from the other guy that's cheaper. And they go, what other guy? And I go, there isn't another guy.
right.
These are the cheapest ones you're going to find anywhere. So I'm not haggling with you, So I did, And so there are animals that I do that with. There's certain animals that I put a price that I think is attractive because I want to sell it.
Right.
I want to put 2,000 in my pocket because boom, I cover almost all of my expenses for the month if I can sell that snake. So I want it to sell fast. So I don't want to negotiate. I don't want to play the game with this. I want to make it super attractive. But I'm not going to get mad at you if you make an offer, because I tell everyone, hey, I'll never get mad at you if you make an offer, as long as you don't get mad at me if I say no. Then play the negotiation game. So sometimes there's animals like that I put up at a really attractive price. That's a reasonable price that may be slightly under visual market price. But the fact is, you put yours up at 2,600 and you'll take 22. I put mine at 22 and I'm only taking 22. So but I will sell those animals a lot of times, but I'm firm on it.
I struggle a lot with like the pricing games where people overprice stuff on purpose because they know they'll take 22 and they want to represent that it's 3,000, but they know in their heart it's always been 22. And so the reach around best friend price is actually 1,800 or something. That stuff, I know it's part of it, but it's always like hurt me emotionally. I'm like, fuck, what price is it? Fuck, I don't know.
Well, I don't get mad at people sometimes when they overprice stuff, only because I think, hey, you know what? Maybe they're doing what I've done before. And so I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, because there have been animals I've posted before and people like, hey, man, that thing is priced way too high. And I go, perfect. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I don't want to sell it.
Mm-hmm. But it's like the fuck you make me sell it.
Somebody wants to give me that for it. Fuck it, it's out the door. Like, it's a $3,000 snake. You're not going to get $4,000 for it. And I go, well, it's a really nice one, but you know what? It's $4,000 because I don't really want to sell it. But for $4,000, I made it. I'll make another one. I'd like $4,000 in my pocket. But I've overpriced stuff.
Well, that's fine. But I think there are people who intentionally overprice stuff because they know they want to negotiate and give someone the pound of flesh.
Oh, yeah.
But then their customers think the real price is the first price. Oh, yeah. So when they go to sell for 3, nobody's buying at 3. They've been buying at 2,000 all year long. But the new person is naive to this process.
But that's the cart and horse discussion once again.
Yes.
Where I get beat up because I put a price that I think is the fair, real price for an opal, $2,200.
Right.
And people tell me you got a price too low, and I go, no, you think I priced it too low because you think I'm going to negotiate on that. But you'll put yours up for 3 and you'll take 22. I put mine up for 22 and I'll take 22. I won't take 21.99. Sorry. So
I guess the answer is everyone just has to learn. It's like a constantly moving target, pricing, and you're always trying to feel it out, because technically no seller wants to underprice their snake. They would like fair market value.
Well,
hypothetically,
listen, I was thinking about this today actually while I was running too, because I posted a clutch of True Ghost stuff, which I hate calling them True Ghosts. I call them Ghosts, but True Ghost ball pythons. I hatched a clutch of them yesterday. I hatched a clutch. I had 2 of them last week. I had a whole clutch of 7 of them, and then I got another 7 just hatched tonight. So I got like 16 of them. But there's some super enchies in there and some enchies in there, and some of them are probably Typhoon. I just haven't freaking looked at them yet. But I've gotten to the point where I start grading some stuff now. Like, I can look in there and I go, oh, this is the one everyone's going to want.
Mm-hmm.
Nicer looking super enchy than that one. So I'll grade it and I'll price it a little bit freaking higher. And I don't. You probably remember Rich Isle. A bunch of people probably don't. Rich Isle was infamous for this. Rich would post up like 5 freaking hypo boas, and and they were graded.
Well, do you think ball python people respond
once,
to that currently? Like,
I don't care if they will or not. Hey, so this
because
goes
boa
back to
people
what I talked
will,
about.
even corn
Supply and
snake people
demand.
will, or
That
whatever.
one
Like,
right there is in high demand because it's nicer than that one. So I
well,
mean,
yeah,
me
that's how it should
personally,
be.
I think that's where the market should move here soon, and I think we may see it get there. Where
Okay.
you're gonna ask a price for something because that guy on that table over there, he's got one, and if you're smart, you know yours looks nicer than his. And that comes back to where I've told people before. Why are you at my table? I've seen you at my table 5 times this weekend, and then you left. I know what you're doing. You're comparing something on my table to something on someone else's table. You're back here, and then you want to start negotiating with me. I'm going to tell you why. The psychology of that is this is the one you really want. That means I don't need to negotiate with you a whole lot because this is the price I want. And it's funny when I play that game, how many times I don't always win, but a lot of times I'll get more money once I realize what you're doing. If I've seen you at my table 5 or 6 times throughout the course of a weekend in Tinley, and you keep looking at the same snake, and then you walk off, and then you come back, and you walk off, and you come back. You're comparing it to something. When you finally open your mouth for the first time to start talking to me, you've made your decision already. Now you just want to save a couple dollars, but you made your decision. Well, I don't know.
Do you think people are like scared that they're being, let me Eric with this, ripped off because they spend $200 more on one that they like better, and they're really concerned about like pinching pennies, even though it's clearly what they want?
Oh, I think they are. But you know what?
Okay.
You know, it's funny you say that because the thing that I laugh at the most now when I look, especially, I get a Instagram follow or something. I want to go look and see should I follow one back, and I don't follow a lot of people. I have a lot of rules in my head, like I'll instantaneously won't follow you back if you don't meet any of the rules. But I'll go look, and almost everybody in there has got their their brand new logo, and they got their name, and then right under that it says breeder of quality ball pythons. And I'm like, who breeds the shitty ones? Because I see shitty ones all over the place. Who makes those? Everybody only makes quality ball pythons. So I'm like, man, if everyone is so hip and quality is the greatest thing, and how do you think you got ripped off because you paid $200 more for the animal that you determined was better looking animal? That's going to make better looking stock for you.
And it could even be $50 more. Like they will quibble in their hearts over really minor dollar amounts.
And you know what? I don't really want you as a customer. So if I lose the sale, I'm fine. But again, I don't have to make the sale to pay my rent and to pay my tables that weekend because I have a full-time job. So I have the ability to do that. I understand. And I have tons of friends that do this for a living. And I don't get mad at them when they wholesale something that I think is too cheap or sold something too cheap because they got to go home and they got to put gas in the car and buy some food. So I get it. But if you're gonna squabble over the $50, then hey, go buy the other one. I'm not worried about it.
Lisa says she loves premium pricing because you got to show people why different ones are worth it versus other ones. I do, even if it's like incremental, like $25 increments. Because you're just like, this one is better because this is what I like about it.
I graded all my blood boas this year, and I had a couple people are like, "Hey man, will you take?" I think I had my real nice blood HRP albino females for like $800 this year, and I had some for $700. Like, will you take $700? I'm like, sure for that one. They're like, no, I want that one. I go, I know you do because it's really nice. That's why it's priced higher. So if your budget is $700, I have a snake for you, but it's not that one. So I've gotten to a point where I've definitely been grading my boas for a while. I have graded my variable king snakes in the past. We'll probably do it again this year. This is the first year that I graded my Gila monsters. And I mean, I graded it because I knew the first one that popped out. I'm like, everybody and their brother's going to want this.
What's the preferred Gila monster look? What is like the most attractive version?
This is a pairing I've been putting together I think for 8 or 9 years, but you'll find it. But so see that one in the back right?
This one?
Super black, very dark and banded. Yeah. That
so one. Like the bands are very saturated. There's no like speckles inside of it. That's a preferred.
The one right to the left of that was the grade number 2.
Okay.
The other 2 animals were the same price but lower. So that top right one was $2,200. That one to the left was $2,000. The other 2 was $1,800 each.
Okay.
So graded those. And then so today I'm running and I'm sitting here thinking about these true ghosts that I have that I just hatched out a bunch of them, and I'm going to grade them because I know there were a couple. Like there's 2 super inchies that blow the other ones out of the water, and there's 2 inchies that I had to like think for a minute and go, are those supers? And I go, I know they're not, because look at these super inchies. These are just inchy ghosts. So, I'm going to price those a little higher than the other 2 inchy ghosts that aren't as nice. So I'm going to grade some of that stuff.
What is the grading scale for Leonis? What do you think people prefer, or what do you prefer in babies?
I'm all over the place. I got bit by that bug a few years ago, and I'm probably going to pick up another 2 or 3 this year. But the ones that I graded, I produce these ones that are like super bright orange, almost red oranges, and those really high red, high orange ones I priced higher than the other ones that weren't. And then I've got some that a couple people thought for years that I was making some axanthics or antares. And there is a little bit of red, but not very much. And so I priced those a little bit higher.
Do you think pet people respond to one or the other more than normal, like hobby customers?
No.
Do they like one better?
It's literally whatever you like. But I find if I have those real high orange ones sitting on my table, people will be more attracted to those.
Do you think the price of True Ghost is correct on Morph Market?
I don't know what it is on Morph Market.
It's like $2,000.
I think that's a little high.
Okay. For VPI specifically.
Yeah. I think that's a little too high. I'd love to get that. But I think it's a little bit too high if you really want to move them. But at the same note, I can tell you that, so I sold my stuff. I sold a Inchy Mojave True Ghost female for $1,400 this year.
At a show or online?
I brought that to quite a few shows, and it was, if I was standing way far from my table and saw somebody point, I knew that's exactly what they were pointing at.
Okay.
I got a lot of freaking people wanted it, but I ended up selling that one online. I ended up shipping it. But I sold a plain True Ghost male, just axanthic hypo, nothing else in there, for $750 this year. Not too long ago. I thought that was a pretty fair, good price for that. Females, I always ask a little bit more for the females because I always sell out of females way faster than I do males, which I've never understood that either, but I always have. But to me, somewhere in the $750 to $1,000 range, unless you start stacking a whole bunch of stuff on there. The super inchies, I probably will put those things up for $1,200 or $1,400 because they're super nice, and I have some adults, and I mean they stay really nice as adults. But when I look at some of the other double recessives, I mean, I've seen some stuff for $400 and $500, and albino pieds for $350, and
I mean, clown pieds you could buy for $200 now.
Yeah,
retail.
So I'm like, man, dude, it's axanthic hypo. They've been around longer than some of this, but I look and I go, man, there's just not that many true ghosts running around in the market. So
right, and the Asians love it. Apparently, like a lot of our stuff's getting exported.
So I'm here to tell you, I'm not kidding you. If I put True Ghosts on my table, they will stop everybody in their tracks. I mean, at Conroe, I had one on the table with me in Conroe. I had an Inchy Ghost het pied with me, and every single female loves them. Females love it.
Ladies,
like non-snake people, like just walking with their husband and their kid. I like that one. I always hear them. I have rich taste, but it literally, an axanthic hypo will stop everybody, and they will point at that snake. I love having those things on my table, and I've been producing those things a long time, and I've said for years, I can't wait. I'm not in a hurry to get there, but I can't wait for those things to be $300 a piece. Because when they are, I've told people for years, a true ghost is the axanthic that's in your brain when you say, I want an axanthic that doesn't brown out. That's what it is. When I can get those to $300, I will not be able to make enough of them. I will sell them all day long. Everyone wanted these antics. And I remember telling Marshall years ago, I was scared. I'm scared when I start making True Ghost stuff that I won't be able to sell another axanthic. Because if you're sitting on the same table, no one will buy that axanthic ever. Because the True Ghost looks so much better. And then I tell people it's one of the few ball pythons that age like you think it should. All of my adult true ghosts are fantastic looking animals. They're gorgeous animals as 7 and 8 year old animals. They don't brown at all. And then you start adding anything to them, they do really well. The only thing I found doesn't do good with them, and I just hatched one, is a pastel. I made a pastel inchy, and I've never made one of those. But the pastels, I don't know how a pastel adds yellow, but you will get some yellow coloration. And, once it gets about a year old, you'll have some yellow in it. It's still a fantastic looking animal, but it will pick up some yellow that the axanthic's supposed to eliminate. But everything else I've added to it so far just is gorgeous. They're great animals as adults. So to me, I'm like, that's the way to go, because I won't have a problem selling a 3-year-old ghost on my table ever, because it looks awesome at that age.
Well, how many ball python clutches do you think you will continue to make? Like 20 a year for
where
this
I
time
think
being?
I've decided that I want to be is I want to be somewhere around 60 ball pythons, maybe 90. So 3 CB70 racks. That includes males, females, everything.
And that's adults, not like hold back grow ups.
Yeah. But I'm to the point now, like, I'm not holding back a whole ton. You know,
Okay.
I'm not trying to do a whole lot of projects, and most of what my big focus is now, and well, I changed a little bit this year only because all of a sudden these antics came back in for some reason. I got everyone asking for them, and I wasn't producing them for quite a few years because no one would buy those things. And I've got some axanthic animals, probably first in the world that no one's seen. I've never even posted them. I don't think they're adults ready to breed, and I've been sitting on them. But I started breeding a bunch of axanthic stuff because I've been getting a lot of requests. I bred almost every pied female I had this year because pieds, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm happy even with 2 genes in them. They're $250, but selling $250 ball pythons all day is pretty good for me, and they're pretty easy to sell pieds. So I bred a bunch of the pied stuff. But the other stuff that that I kept that I really like is the true ghost stuff. I love axanthic pied stuff, hypo pied stuff, hypo clown, and axanthic clown. And then I really need to post a picture of this. I bought one because clown pieds kick me in the rear end. I don't care for them that much. It's one of those projects I'm like, you know what? Everyone likes them, so I'm going to make some. But anyway, I've got some females and no males. And I'm like, I'll just wait and I'll buy something. Well, lo and behold, from Don Shores, I ended up buying a hypo clown pied male for a price that I was like, why is that so cheap? So I bought it. So I'm going to plug that into some stuff, and I'm trying to hopefully we're not too far from True Ghost pied stuff and True Ghost clown stuff. And so clown, hypo, axanthic, pied, as long as 2 of the 3 genes or all 3 are in all those, I'm sticking with all of that stuff. Because I love all my hypo clown stuff. I love my axanthic clown stuff, and then all the true ghost stuff, and then axanthic and hypo pied stuff. So keeping all that, focus on a lot of that.
What about puzzle?
I lost interest in it. I mean, I've got a little bit of puzzle stuff, but that's one of those, like, I fell so far behind everyone else, and I got kicked in the rear end so many times on so many projects I tried to do with that. Like, I would try to add a new gene into it, and then I either wouldn't produce a male or I wouldn't produce it forever. And so I kind of got behind on it. With that said, I do have a pair of NOCO special het puzzles because I want to make a super special puzzle. Lo and behold, female eats like shit. Male's a freaking pain in my ass. And so they're probably 4 years old, not ready to breed yet. Have those. I did make some double het sunset puzzle stuff. So I think I have a trio of those. I'll probably breed those. But, I made some what I thought were really kick-ass, awesome freaking leopard puzzle stuff 2 years ago. And I have that whole clutch. Like, I can't sell any of them. And maybe I have them overpriced, but I'm like, then if I have to price them that much lower to get them gone, then I don't want.
Yeah, the straight puzzle prices really come down a lot. Yeah. So adding like 1 codom or 2 codoms isn't that much, unfortunately.
Oh no, but I mean, I have a pastel platy daddy het red axanthic leopard puzzle. So that looks fucking awesome. I think I have.
And nobody was
interested in it. $800.
Oh,
the last show, and I'm like, that won't sell. I mean, this thing's $400.
Don't you think shows are weird though, and like they want some kinds of things. Okay.
He's been on more market too. It's still sitting there doing nothing. So I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Puzzle thing. I still have a gang of puzzle stuff too. I got a lot. And everyone keeps asking about the super red stripe puzzle. That's one that for 4 years I couldn't make a male red stripe het puzzle. I finally have one, and he eats like shit. He might be big enough next year. So, I may be able, and that was always one I wanted to do, is super red stripe puzzle. So, we'll see. Maybe I can do that next year. But I still have a couple of things. I'm not going to completely get out of them, but I need to scale that back. I did hold a lot of het and a lot of visual puzzle female stuff for a long time. I have probably way too much for what I'm producing.
What is your signals that you should just completely get out of a project to you? Is it just being kind of behind, or like ill positioned, or not the right kinds of animals, or just you just lost interest?
That's it for me.
Okay.
Because I don't in a single project, I don't think you can get too far behind, especially not these days. I mean,
you don't think? Everyone's all like jerking each other off, talking about their quintuple hets, and I'm like, "Fuck you! Shut up! You haven't even hit the triple."
But for $4,000, you can be back in the game in one purchase.
Right? It's just very weird. I think, like, there's like a cultural shift happening, and I'm not sure who's on board and who isn't.
Well, I love the people that are making quad hets. And I go, hey, good luck with that shit, because the double het, I got to make like 62 eggs from double het to double het to hit a double visual. And you want to do quad hets? Yeah, good luck.
Well, you have like an increased ability to hit any double within the quad, but you just don't get to pick which double it is.
Oh, it is all right. You don't get to pick. So
right.
Then it's not really any better.
But that's what suppresses the price of the doubles. Because if you're, I don't know, playing corn snake math where everything's a pentuple het.
Oh yeah.
You can hit lots of doubles, but you don't get to pick.
No, I play that game. I got some quad het freaking corn snakes, and I fucking never hit the goddamn snake I want. So I'm well aware.
Do you think
cool shit, and I gotta sell it all, and I still didn't get the one I was looking for?
Right. Do you think ball pythons are corn snaking or not, in terms of like that part of it where everything's pos het for 70 things, nobody cares?
I kind of think they are.
Okay.
But I will back that up and say, I hope no one thinks that has a negative connotation to it. Because, dude, we've been breeding corn snakes since the fucking 70s. And they're still strong. So if that's where ball pythons are going, fucking awesome. That means we still got another 30 years of ball pythons. Like, that's not a bad thing.
Well, I think people are like, I don't know, there's like such an intense focus on it being a pentuple het, but I'm like, the journey is like, maybe not that, but like, what kind of cool combos come out of each clutch from pentuple to pentuple, like a corn snake, where you're like, okay, thank God I got these 3 sun-kissed anneries and these 3 shatters, and then whatever. You have all these different versions, and that's your show display.
That's half the reason why I like that.
Yes. So that would be why you would want to do that in ball pythons, not because you care about the pentuple visual. Yeah. It's because you want like the party pack.
Well, I don't think you want a pentuple visual in a ball python. It's going to be a fucking white snake.
Right. Or like a brown sock, a dirty sock.
It's the only problem that I found with ball python. And that's where I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't really want more than about 3 genes in a ball python anymore. I think you start detracting once you start adding too many in there. I mean, there's a few now that I've seen that are starting to get that work. But as a general rule, if you combine 4 genes into a ball python, I've used that term for a long time when I see someone produce something and I go, oh, congratulations, you reverse engineered a whatever. And it's hilarious because I saw someone the other day posted up a ball python. I forget what it was, but it was like 4 or 5 genes combined. And I looked at that and I'm like, fuck, man, you made a spider ball python with other genes. And then like the guy came back and replied and he goes, I'm really kind of bummed. It looks like a spider. I'm like, fuck, at least you admit it and you said it on there. Like, you did all this work to make a 5G animal and it looks like something nobody wants to buy anymore.
Well, that's
cool
like,
it won't have a head wobble. Maybe you can sell spiders now.
Right. Well, like that's the power of corn snakes, is because they teach you that like a really good polygenic base plus maybe 1 or 2 mutations is the better unit to sell than a pink worm. Or like it looks like raw chicken because it has 5 recessives in it.
And I'm not so sure we won't revert back to that. The people starting buying ball pythons that, hey, I don't have to send in a shed test to figure out what it is. It's a very attractive animal and it's only got 3 genes. And hey, I'm going to sell because people, we're going to get to a point like corn snakes where you get into, that roller coaster market where they go up to $100 a piece and then they drop to $15 a piece in 3 years because they're oversaturated and, the market self-regulates. We'll get there with ball pythons. So when you get there, you're going to be selling to people that want to buy an attractive animal. So you can't just put up a snake and go, it's got 3 of the most desirable genes, but it looks like dog shit. No one's buying that.
But don't you think maybe we're already there? Because people are like,
I think we're getting close.
Passing on an adult triple het, whatever, DG pied clown female that is technically breedable and powerful. But because she's just a pastel triple het, they won't even bid her up on an auction.
Well, so the weird thing with the ball python market, and hey, I'm not as deep in it as I used to be, so people get mad at me if they don't buy my opinion. But to me, there is a very low end ball python market and a very high end ball python market. There was nothing in the middle anymore. So you're still going to sell really high end stuff.
Oh yeah.
Everything else is going to be low end, and then in the low end, it's like you're either going to sell a $50 or $60 snake or a $200 snake. The $200 snake you're going to sell is because it's attractive.
Right.
50 and 60 is everything else that's not attractive. That's a ball python. That's not $8,000 is going to be $50. And then there's a handful of leucistics, pieds, really cool banana, bright looking things are going to be $200 to $300. And that's what you're going to sell. You're going to sell $50, $300, and $8,000 ball pythons.
Right.
Like should have 3 price points and that's it.
Can I tell you something that makes me sad? During the pandemic, it appeared like there was a middle of the market for ball pythons.
Oh, the whole fucking thing was blown wide open.
It felt like you could, like the nice one in the clutch could be your holdback. You could sell its best sister for a good price to like a breeder, but you could sell the whole way down the clutch.
Yes.
Incrementally priced based on whatever, and it all made sense. And then like the slop, like the low end het males could go for $50 as pets. But the middle of the market existed in a way that hasn't since 22, basically.
Oh, for sure. No, I agree.
And I was like, oh, and it made a lot of sense to me. I was like, oh, okay, fine. Like if it's a female double het, then it's this price, and it all worked out. But now it's like the middle has collapsed. You go back to like a K-shaped economy type thing. It's just all like pretty pets or ugly pets and then really expensive ones. Is that like more normal for ball pythons, you think? Or is that just the current paradigm for ball pythons?
I think it's current for now.
Okay.
And I only say that because I think what falls in that middle is project animals.
Right, exactly. Like ingredients.
People don't want a project anymore. They want fucking, hey, I don't need to see how the baby got made. Give me the baby or that's it, So they don't want to buy a triple het. They want to buy the triple homozygous,
Right.
And if that triple homozygous can be purchased for $1,000, they're not buying a freaking this double het or that, like I don't want to wait 3 years to have to make it and then maybe miss on it. Just give me that animal. So it bums me out really that people don't, because that was half of the fun for me was the project and making the thing myself, but I think it'll come back around because at some point I think people are going to get to a point where they're wanting to do projects, or I have an idea and I can't find exactly what I want. I'm there with a boa. There's a couple things I want to do with boas. I don't have a lot of boas, but and opals. That's all I like. But I wanted to add a gene here and a gene there. And every time I was like, hey, you know what? I want to add IMG into my opal stuff. But I'm not going to buy an IMG and breed it in there. So I'm like, oh, let me find an IMG freaking sharp albino het blood. I couldn't find that. Like no one had what I wanted in the project. So like now I got to freaking do the project. So I think we're going to get there. We're going to get to a spot in ball pythons where people want to work on a specific project. And I think we're kind of starting to get there. I was talking about that with a buddy of mine today. It's like, hey, it's so hard to sell at shows on things because you may have some cool snakes, but people are so specific in exactly what they're looking for. If you don't have exactly what they're looking for, you're not selling it. They don't want to get, oh, well, it's not exactly what I want, but it has everything. I can get there still with this animal. They don't want that animal. So
right, and I think
that's
in
the
some
market
projects that are
development.
like hotter, there is a middle of the market to be clear. Like I think I don't know if
Oh
somebody
yeah,
really wants to work sunset ultramil puzzles, like
yeah.
there's more middle there. But in some things, people are just like, fuck you. I'll just
But
buy the
no,
triple.
that middle of that thing right there lasts a year. And then
Right. I
tomorrow
yes.
that project is moved on, or you found 5 people that wanted that project.
Right. It's almost like we niched down too far
Yes.
in many ways.
And I mean, that was inevitable. When you start adding more and more and more and more genes, you're going to get there. It's just it's you're going to get to a point where people want what they want, and there's too many options. I've told plenty of people if I had to get in the ball python market today, I wouldn't own one. I would, because I wouldn't be able to make up my mind. There's too many freaking options.
There's a lot of options.
Was so nice when like, oh, one of these antics that's $4,000. Well, I ain't getting much else because it's freaking you added it was $5,000 to add a gene way back in the day, or 10,000
Right.
or 20,000 when I bought a pinstripe. So there wasn't your budget determined your options. Now, if you got $1,000, you can get whatever the hell you want. I don't know how you pick. If you got $1,000, you're buying your first ball python. I don't know what in the world you buy. I don't know how you get to that decision to be made. I'd never make a decision. I've walked around
Right.
$1,000 in my pocket for a year and never have a snake.
It is a lot, and it's a big burden on people to like get into it and learn a bunch of things all at once. like like the ancient history and like what's we're going on right now and this and how to breed and how to
And
keep,
that's
and
why
it's
I
like
tell people, I think you need to figure out what you like to look at, because you're going to pick up its poop for 30 years. So find the thing you like and specialize in that for a little while. Problem is, the people, specializing that for a little while means, hey, like focus on that for hey, buy some animals, raise them up, breed them, produce a few things, see what you like. Well, that's 5 years of you being specific, and people don't have the patience to be specific for 5 years because they're probably not going to be here in 4 years. So,
well, do you think they should start out with multiple species to begin with or just one species?
I was talking about genes.
Oh, I know, but like
Me, me
sometimes I'm
personally.
like if they start out with more species, it is harder to get ahead in any one.
Oh, it
But
is.
then you have like all the variety play at a show, and
And it's not
if
it's not easy with multiple
no,
species.
it's not.
From how you keep them and remembering that you need to do this to trigger breeding, and this one's got a different temperature requirement, and this one wants this, and I find that I'm not as successful as I could be with a lot of the species I have because I have too many. But I like them all, so I'm tolerant with, hey, this year I'm not going to produce that, or maybe it take me a couple extra years to figure out how to dial it in or whatever. But some of that is still the fun that keeps me going with that stuff.
Right.
But my general rule is I'll add a new species one a year. That's it.
What is your criteria for stopping a species where you're like, actually, I already read it once, it's not for me anymore?
When I suck at it, or I realize sell it. Like Western hogs. I freaking. I own. Me and two of my buddies got into leucistic Western hogs right at the beginning. So I have some of that. But by that point in time, I was solely a monetary investor, and I can raise them. I can raise the shit out of a Western hog. I can't breed them to save my ass. I had them. I bred them for like 5 years. I produced one albino in 5
Were
years.
you able to brumate or did you use it?
I didn't brumate them.
Oh, so do you think that's why?
Maybe.
Okay.
But I know some people that don't. But I
I know.
sucked at that species. So, I mean, I had them for 7 years. Brazilian rainbow boas. I've never produced a living Brazilian rainbow boa. I had those for 7 or 8 years. Finally, I was like, fuck it. I'm selling these damn things. I'm tired. It's just freaking. They're cool. I love them. They're gorgeous. Mine were really tainted.
Do you feel like you know why, or you just don't know why?
It's one of those, like, I don't think it fit into my collection, my environment. It didn't fit into everything else. And I just didn't have the ability to get extra attention paid to that, so I could raise them. I bred them. I probably had 4 or 5 litters. My last litter I got was like 7 freaking animals, and she spit out the sack, and they were alive, and they all died. And I was like, okay, I don't know what happened. And I'm like, I'm not doing it right, so I got rid of it.
Well,
or,
are
I've
you
had a couple species that I produced, and like I couldn't sell them. Other people could. Like there's just some species and some mutations that just don't sell for some people. Like I'd produce them, I could wholesale them all to someone else, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to wholesale them, so I just got rid of that.
Isn't that funny though? Because I always think about, I don't know, different people can make a different market just by like having a different face or something. Yeah. And even at the same show, like somehow they can sell 30 of this, but you can only sell one. But if you brought 10 of these because of your tablecloth color or something random or your presentation style, and then I'm like, okay, well, that's I agree.
Oh, I've been to shows where I brought stuff and like knew I had better looking whatever than the guy over there, and that guy sold freaking 10 of them and I didn't sell any. I'm like, well, how the fuck did this
happen? I wish I understood it, honestly.
I don't. I do too, you know, but there have been species that I got up because I couldn't sell that stuff. You know, I quit breeding Kenyan sand boas for a while because I used to sell the shit out of them. And then all of a sudden for like 2 years, I was bringing really nice Annery Kenyans and I couldn't sell one to save my ass. And I went, okay, I'm not going to make some more of these to not sell them. So I quit. And then I'm sitting right next to Jeff Hartwig in Tinley every year, my buddy, and he sells the shit out of them. And I'm like, why don't I make those things again? I just bought a brand new freaking Kenyan sand boa project, so we'll see. Stick my toe back in there again.
What do you think Tinley wants right now? Do you think it's like a pet only show?
If I had the answer to that question, I have no idea what they want.
Okay.
I don't know. You know, it's a tough question because I get people ask me that all the time, and then I go and look and I go, oh, here's something I have that I'm just none of them here. And then, you know, I'll see someone bring it and then they don't sell. And then like, oh, well, everyone asked for it last year and now they're here and no one's buying it. And so, man, I can't figure it out. I bring whatever the hell I have and call it a day, you know?
Right. Because I know last fall was a little tough. I heard. I don't know if it was tough for you specifically, but then this spring was very busy, but it was very pet busy.
Spring always used to be my best show.
Was it your best show this time?
Man, I haven't been to Tinley and had a good show since like 2023.
You know? Oh fuck! Ever?
No, I haven't had a bad one, but it's just like a meh. Like,
do you bring the wrought iron project and the druid?
Yeah, I brought wrought iron stuff this past year. I had some and didn't sell a single one.
What the fuck? Okay, so like, do you think bloods? All right, this is a question I have. Are bloods good at shows in general, or are they too like intimidating or something to people who want a ball python but couldn't be convinced? Or
that's one of those, like, you know, I used to sell them and have a ton of customers, and then I got out of them for a little while. But like, it's one of those, you got to be known for that. And hey, I suck at social media because I don't have time, and I blame myself for not having more success because I'm not all over it. I don't have the time to do it, so I just, you know, accepted that in myself. It's like, hey, I can't do that. I know how I increase my business is to do that, but I don't have the time for it. I can't. But so, like, you know, Elijah, I love Elijah. You know, great business. Someone going to Tinley now that wants a blood python, they're going to go to Juggernaut. They're going to go to Elijah before they come to my table, even though I have, you know, stuff just as nice as Elijah. And I don't get mad at him because, hey, you want to know why they go there? Because they know who he is, because he spends a bunch of time on social media and he's built that platform for himself. So, hey, you know, congratulations to him. But I got to compete with that, and I can't sometimes, even though I have a lot of the same stuff he has. So, to me, bloods is one of those, like, if you're kind of known for it, you can sell it. And so I'm still known to have some of that stuff. But at a show, I'm not going to sell a blood if Elijah is there. I'm probably, you know, I may sell one or two, and especially even to some older customers. But if I got to compete with another blood person, I may not. But online, I'll still sell quite a bit. So I'll still do good with them.
Like, what about it? Like, I don't know, a Conroe or something. Are you known as a blood person there, or do you present as a boa and ball python person or turtle person? Do you present differently each time?
That show to me seems to have turned into, there's so much more of a pet show there, and not, you know, I find I sell at that show more stuff to pet people. And why I think my sales are down. I used to make a good bit of money, but I could see that a lot of the stuff I would sell at those shows were to other breeders coming to buy new project stuff, you know, and I'm not getting that now. So then, therefore, there's no one that knows anyone for anything, you know, because they come to the show and they don't know that. They're just at a show and they're buying some stuff, and they're not. What's cool for that is if you bring healthy animals, you present yourself well, you talk to people, then you'll outsell someone else because you're truly marketing a product now, and if you got a better product, you'll be able to sell it. But I mean, you know, for the people that do know me over there's a lot of people at that show. I've been doing that show for a long time that know I have a whole lot of stuff. You know, the problem with me for years too is there was a lot of species I produced for years that every now and again I'd come to a show and I'd have something on my table. Hog Island boa. So, oh, I didn't know did you buy these? And I go, no. I said, I don't flip anything, you know, whatever I sell, I produce. I said, but no. And you should start breeding. I said, no, I've been making those for like 8 years. They're like, well, you never bring them to shows. And I go, well, that's the problem. They never make it to shows. So I don't produce stuff in large enough numbers that I don't have a lot of excess. So for years, and even now, there's still a lot of stuff that I produce that it'll sell out of the egg, or it'll sell from a picture on Instagram, or it'll sell before I ever get to a show. So there's a ton of stuff that I had that people didn't even know I kept or produced because it never made it there. But I was like, man, the people that do know I have it, they've been waiting on it. So I got wait lists.
Right.
For a lot of stuff.
This is something that drives me crazy because I think people think I'm really boring and not cool because of what I'm presenting at the show. This is like the bottom of the barrel, technically. This is the pet stuff I've selected because it's kind of pretty and maybe some little bit of project stuff, but a lot of this rare stuff's done and gone, brothers and sisters. So I've started bringing pictures, and I'm just like,
or the pretty stuff, because it sells fast because it's pretty, you know, or the rare stuff, it sells because it's rare. And so when someone goes, hey, I can't find this anywhere else, you better spend your money now, or you're not going to get it until next year.
Right. But I guess, do you think this is just like a problem of us not saving up good inventory for good shows? Like there's too many shows in between.
So if your goal is to show cool shit at a show, yes.
Okay.
But I tell people the risk you take saving something because you want to make a future sale, in my opinion, that's just not wise.
Right. Money in the bank's better than a dead snake in the tank.
If someone wants to buy it, sell it, you know, because all of a sudden, man, I really want to bring it to that show. And, hey, I got trapped in that a long time ago. And now, hey, I'd rather go to a show with freaking no cool stuff, you know. But, hey, when I go to that show with no cool stuff and people go, man, you barely covered your expenses. Well, I didn't need to cover expenses because I sold all that really cool rare shit and I got a bank full of freaking cash. So I don't care.
Right.
I'd rather just I'd sell it, you know.
Right. We were talking about this in the green room a little bit, but like let's say the whole market can absorb 100 baby Angolans a year. Yeah. You want to be the person who sells out of Angolans first. So if you do that online instead of waiting for a show, you don't sit on the same Angolan inventory babies for 2 years because you made them available.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact of the matter is the longer you keep that animal, the more cost of goods you got tied up into that animal.
Right.
You know, and I mean, from a business perspective, you know, hey, you have to tie the two strings together to say, hey, there are live animals, but it is a business, you know. So if I want to make more money, I need to sell an animal as early as I possibly can.
Right.
So that your cost of care doesn't increase. Your cost of goods on said animal goes up. Every time you have to change some bedding and give it a new water bowl and feed it another mouse, you've spent more money on that animal.
Right. Do you think, though, we should have less shows so that each show individually could be better, both for the vendor and for the ability to present the maximum number of species each time? Or are we ever going to be able to claw back the number of shows to a different amount, or are we stuck this way?
I don't think so, because I've had that argument for years. You know, I've had people like, man, that show and, you know, whatever. I'm not going to name anything, but this show in this area just sucks. And I go, okay, well, that show can go away. They're like, oh, it's not going away. I go, if y'all quit fucking vending it, well, then I quit vending.
That's right.
And then I had another guy. I was like, I thought you were gonna quit vending when I vend. No, you want to know what happened? He goes, oh, dude, Tim's not vending. So man, I pick up all his sales. So
Tim Simon
vending that show. So the vendors don't realize that, hey, you control that show. You don't want that show to go there. Everybody quit fucking vending it. But as long as vendors keep showing up, promoters are going to keep freaking getting people through the door and making money. So the shows aren't going to go away. But, you know, back to freaking way back in the day, you know, I used to hear the saying was it was like a flea market, you know. So, and it was. I remember my early days, Daytona, you know, of Daytona. I never went to Orlando, so that was before my time. But early 2000s in Daytona on a Friday. I mean, I remember when I was buying my Nicaraguan boas. Ben Siegel had Nicaraguan boas on his table from Nicaragua. And I went over there, and it was on a Friday. There's a line at his table for Nicaraguan boas, and you stand in line. And then I'm watching how many snakes are there and how many people are ahead of me. And I got up there, and there was like 8 snakes left, and I was buying 6. And I bought 6 of them. And there was no bargain, but it was the flea market mentality. Like, hey, dude, people just came and were like waving cash, trying to jump the line. Like, I'll pay more. And just, you know, you bought it on Friday because it wasn't going to be on Saturday, and there was no negotiation and there was no haggle. I just, you know, those days, I think they're gone. But the reason that existed is because, you know, back to a supply and demand, like, hey, there wasn't going to be another show.
Right.
And that guy brought this, and that's what he imported, and he was going to sell all of them right here. You better buy it now or you're not getting it again. So there was no point in putting another show in freaking 2 months there because all the people sold all the cool shit that day. So
right. Quirky brought up like shows. The purpose of shows has changed to like pet people showcase time. You know, to get people into the hobby or show the hobby off, which is fine, but like that doesn't necessarily help you to sell the maximum number of snakes per unit time spent vending.
Yeah.
It's
that's what I tell everybody. You know, I look and now like the amount of shows that I do per year is greater, but my total revenue from shows is probably the same it always has been. That means I have to lay out more money because I have to pay for more tables, more hotels, and more gas and more food than I used to make the same money. So, you know, I could say before, like, hey, I'm going to go to a show, I'm going to make $5,000-$6,000 every time I go to a show. Now maybe the price is, hey, I make $2,000 or $3,000. You better be happy with that because that's normal, you know. So yeah, I think that if we had fewer shows, then you would make more money per show. I don't think you necessarily may make more money per year if you
right. But I still think it's worth it because I think people should value their time a little more than they do.
Yeah. I mean, your margin will go up because your cost of expense for shows would go down and you would make the same revenue. But I don't know. I just, you know, and hey, I'm not calling any promoter greedy or anything else because you know what? They're in the business of promoting a show. And so if they have money and they can increase their business, they're going to, and I can't blame them for that, you know?
Right.
But you know, at the same note, yeah, hey, I do think there's too many shows around the country. You know, for sure.
Right. And I know some show circuits have both good and bad versions of shows in their circuit. So it's not necessarily like one person is doing it wrong everywhere. I just think some regions can't support
that's right.
as many of the same idea, even promoted equally good. Just the whole region doesn't have the culture or whatever to support as many shows as maybe you would want, hypothetically.
And the crazy thing is, you know, I think there's too many in South Louisiana. But I still do all of them because, like, it's my market that I've been in for 25 years, and people expect to see me there. And hey, there's still times where I do talk to some people. Hey, I haven't seen that guy in 3 years, you know, and he goes to the show because he knows everyone's going to be there, and so I still get to talk to him. He's what I have.
Do you ever feel like tempted to change what you bring to meet show demand specifically? Like, I don't know, like you want to get into a species not because you really love it, but because you're like, oh, I don't know. There seems to be a market for Kenyan sambos again, so I will get back into Kenyan sambos.
But I will say my goal, and I'm getting really close to it, and I thought I'd been there a little bit sooner, but my goal years ago was like, hey, I want to go to a show and I want 75-80% of my table to be non-ball pythons, and I'll put some ball pythons over there. I'll sell the rest of my ball pythons online. That's what I just wanted to go there with a variety of stuff, because I feel like with a higher variety, I would go to a show, make more money at a show. So it made the travel feel more worthwhile to me. But I didn't pick species because I thought they would sell. I just picked other species because I like that other species and I wanted to deal with it. You know, but I'm pretty close, and I like this Conroe show. Half my table was ball pythons, the other half was bloods and boas. You know, and I've got a gang of colubrids that are gravid right now, so I'm gonna have a ton of colubrid stuff this year to fill in on the table. Bloods are gonna be pretty shitty for me this year. I'm still not 100%. I've been saying for about 2 months I need to break out my ultrasound because I rarely ever use that thing anymore. But I got to ultrasound a bunch of stuff and see where it is. But you know, see if like the diamond pythons are going to do anything this year. I had boas this year. I'm probably not going to produce much on the boas. I got a new Hog Island male that I can't seem to get to do anything, so I may not have Hog Islands this year. I got an Angolan I thought was going to go. It's not. And, you know, I had some problems with my Angolan stock for a while, and so I haven't made Angolans in probably 6 or 7 years, and I'm having to regrow up some stuff, but that's coming back around here. But yeah, I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff, but it's all stuff that I really just I enjoy the species. I have fun with the species, or I always liked the way it looked, or I always wanted to add it, and finally got around to adding it in there. So I pick what I like. I don't really care what the price is. It is what it is, but as long as I enjoy it, I'm good. But I do and have wanted to just get more diversity on my table, because hey, we're going to test what that customer said. You got all these customers say they want diversity, so hey, here we go. Now we got it. Did you really want it?
But they want diversity if it's like cheap and convenient for them, and maybe pretty also. Like it has to be like It was my first Shawnee herp show. I was like, oh, there's too many ball python breeders there. So I brought only boas, but of many different colors and morphs. I barely sold anything.
Yeah, nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted them. I did 2 like wholesale lots to Sean for the pet store and to another guy. And I maybe sold
people at your table though, because
right. But in the end, I had to bring ball pythons the next every time I ever vended there because I didn't sell hardly any.
Yeah,
maybe like 3 or 4 of the $100 ones. I just think it's hard to be like a specialist in anything else. You'd have to have 2Z, 3Zs of many things, not tables and table at a little show like that. Tables and tables of just boas.
Yeah. No, that's right. I can, you know, if you're a very finite specialist, you got to be a specialist to the whole hobby. You're not going to do great at a show.
Right. No. And I think that's what people don't get, because people will tell them like, yeah, you have to have diversity on their table. And they're like, okay, I'm bringing 80 Trans-Pecos rat snakes. And you're like, stop.
Yeah.
That's not what we meant.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's already niche. You might sell 2.
Yeah.
An albino and a whatever, an xanthic. That's it. You're done. You've filled the whole show's demand. Maybe the whole region's demand for Trans-Pecos for the next year. No, congratulations.
Right. No, that's right.
All right, brother. I think we did it.
Awesome.
How do you feel?
I feel like there's a whole lot of shit we didn't touch on.
All right. Well, we'll have to come back. I do want to ask about like banana panic or whatever.
What is that?
I just want to know what people were doing when bananas were crashing in like 2011, 12 time frame.
What I was doing, and it worked for a little while, but then it didn't work. But I was trying to produce females and female making males. That's what I was doing, because no one was making that stuff, you know. So you couldn't find a female. So I geared towards that, which Marshall did the same thing. So for a little while, for a tick there, you know, like you couldn't find a female anywhere, and there was only a handful of places to go. So I did pretty decent there. But you know, it was one of those like. My banana, I probably paid for my banana. I recouped all of my costs probably in about the first 18 months. So every project all I've ever tried to do is recuperate my freaking money. I mean, I did it. I bought my scale set for $50,000, and I made all that money back within 2 years. And so once I was neutral,
scales heads.
Yeah. Once I was neutral, didn't matter anymore. Well, I sold some scaleless in there too. But once I hit neutral and I've recouped the cost of that, then it's all fun from there. Then I can just I feel in my brain, I've set my brain to say, hey, I can do whatever I want to now. So I'll just keep producing that stuff. And it's funny, I haven't made any of that in quite a while. And I got a bunch of people asking for it again. So I'm probably going to try to produce a few more scaleless animals next year.
I do hate them. I think they're ugly, but you know, whatever.
Well, I'm probably going to make
their little faces look like this because they don't have.
I like scaleless pies. They're awesome.
You do? What about their dumb faces?
The face is the same. They just don't have any of those scales.
I know, but that's part of what makes them look cute is like their heat pits and their like big labial scales.
No, I won't argue with you. But
listen, it's just about personal taste here.
Go buy those Chinese crested dogs, and those things are ugly as fuck.
Yeah, I don't want them either. Yeah, I think the thing is with a lot of the people who bought a lot of snakes during COVID is they're still underwater.
Oh, probably so.
And it's fine, but the longer we get away from that time, the more they should not be underwater, which the more they could be more whatever. Like, okay, whatever, the project's paid for now. I can move on and be happy.
I feel their pain. I took a very large chunk of fucking COVID money and bought blood pythons, and I have not made my money back on that one. So it's one of those I tell everyone, as long as they don't die, I will make my money back. It's a matter of
it's a matter of how many like breeding attempts, clutches, litters, whatever for that species that are sort of that causes amortized over until you're back up.
I'm 5 years out now from my first blood python project. And like I should in my brain when I bought it, I was gonna be freaking, cost positive in 5 years, and I'm not. So, we'll get, but I feel those people's pain. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But again,
well, and the other thing is like the market cap shrunk all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So like everything became cheaper. Every species too. Like everything was just like it just sort of squeezed in. So like
not all of them, man, because there was some stuff I wanted to buy that I ended up having to pay a lot of money for.
Like in the last year or two.
Yeah. So I got my original pair of Peruvians. And at 3 years old, my male just said, hey, today's a good day to die. Died for no reason. So now I needed another, and I have a Iquitos locality. So I wanted a Iquitos Peruvians.
Mm-hmm.
Took me 3 years
to find one.
Oh, I found a male, and they wanted, it wasn't really nice, but it was 3 years old, and they wanted $4,500. And I'm like, God bless, so it took me 3 years to find him. Then when I found him, guy in Daytona had a trio. I said, bro, I don't need a trio. I need a male. Like, what am I going to do at 1.3? I said, I need a male. I said, dude, if you won't sell me the male, I'll buy a pair, but I definitely can't buy a trio. So I bought a pair. But I mean, at that point, a Peruvian, $2,200 or $2,000 for a freaking Peruvian. I'm like, fuck.
You don't think you could have found a baby male in this like last 2 years?
That was a baby male.
Like a pair. A baby male.
I got the pair for $2,800, I think.
Is that high?
I've seen babies for $2,000 for baby Peruvians now.
I guess some things are more expensive, but I think the whole hobby market cap to me is contracted, not just in ball pythons. Like like I was selling sharp snows for $1,200 out of my first litter getting back into the hobby in 2020. And now they're like $600 or something or less.
Yeah, but that's price cut in half in 6 years. That's not bad for something.
Yeah, but they were cheaper than that before the pandemic. So it's like this artificial.
Well, I mean, there's something. Go try to buy a ring python right now. I remember
that's true.
You get 2 for free if you bought a ball python. They're $1,000 a piece.
Right, those are still expensive.
Dummer boas, you get them for $35. Now they're freaking $400.
Well, they were $800 during the pandemic because we're like supply correcting. I was saying like the total amount of money sloshing around the whole hobby to me seems less. So like there's less people buying pets, so less money sort of circulated to the show, so people can't do vendor to vendor purchases as easily.
Well, I agree with you. But I mean, other kickers, like a lot of the vendors, people that I was selling all my other species to were ball python people that sold ball pythons and came and brought me their ball python money to buy other shit.
Right. And that's good. I think that's like
sell ball pythons, so they don't have
right.
money to buy my other shit. And I don't like it. I'm like, shit, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Like, fine. I need you to go sell some ball pythons so I can make money.
Right. So I think, to me, I don't like to prognosticate, but I think if the ball python people could focus on just selling attractive ball pythons for a while, they could get enough money in their little pockets that they could circulate that money around the hobby better instead of like trying to force a triple head onto a family for $20.
Oh, it's fine. It's so I got. There's 2 bloods that I have. I had them in Conroe, and the amount of people that stopped and looked at those and were just like, that is the coolest thing. And of course, they're like, what kind of ball python is that? And I go, well, it's not a ball python. Well, that's why I've never seen one like that. And I go, that's right. But then it's always a lady. I got really expensive taste. Well, the 2 animals they're looking at are het pied. So, like, I'll stop this every now and again and explain to someone. I go, what's really funny is the animal you're looking at right there for $3,500, I can sell you one for about $1,200. Because it looks exactly the same. What you're paying for, you can't see, and they don't understand that.
Right.
But it is funny that sometimes, some attractive snakes, but they got a higher price because it's a het pied right now. But there's some blood stuff that I know I could sell, and I just haven't produced it, this year that wasn't het pied. And so, but yeah, it's funny that sometimes there's some stuff like, you're not going to sell a triple het to a freaking family. I'm not going to sell that thing that's a het pied to a family.
But I think there was like I don't know, a collective delusion for a little bit that if you went ultra high end, you wouldn't be making too much low end stuff. I'm going to roll my eyes right out of my head so that you were positioned better to hit the top end of the K when we were like having a little ball python recession.
Yeah, you were if you had a customer base. That's
right. But yeah, nobody does. And we were all selling to pet people anyway. So you end up taking double hets and triple hets, byproduct slop. That's even uglier than if you had just made bananas and bells to a show. You make even less money than if you had just gone for like the visual banana clown.
So in Conroe this weekend, I had a friend that made pretty good money. And he sold like freaking 15 leucistics at ball pythons at the show. And I go, there you go, dude. $300 a piece. Freaking dude, it's kind of become my goal is, I want to go to a show with really nice looking $200 to $400 ball pythons. And I'm happy selling those all day long. Those people can part with $200 or $300. And if it's a good looking snake, I'd rather go sell freaking 20 of those than freaking $30 animals, that freaking I probably have $28 worth of rodents in them.
Right. But I think that's a lesson a lot of people had to learn because it was a good idea to be like, oh yeah, I want to be in the top end of the K, but everybody can't do that together. And not every animal in the production of that K is that in the K. So you end up with a lot of dog shit, ugly snakes. No offense, normal ball pythons. But like, the marketing potential is they're just not competitive and they're not.
Well, I was always scared to be there solely. I was always scared to have a table full of $4,000 ball pythons.
Oh yeah.
I thought that meant I was going to go to a show and sell none and come home with $0.
Have you sold a $4,000 ball python at a show recently?
No. I haven't made a $4,000 ball python recently. I probably hadn't made a ball python worth more than freaking $1,000 recently.
Okay. Yeah. Like when I lived in Washington, I was like, I wonder what it's like to be at a show and vend a show where it's not pet people walking around. And it turns out there is no such thing as that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there used to be,
There used to be, but like, and I've vended in Kansas and Colorado and Texas and in RBC and they're all pet people mostly. There's a couple. If another vendor's attracted to something, that's your sort of hobby to hobbyist thing.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
I think smaller vendor. I consider myself smaller in the scale of the big hobby. I mean, I've been doing it a long time, but I'm a smaller person. But there's Tinley's. I think my record Tinley was probably like 22,000. So I mean,
that's pretty good.
Coming home with 22 grand was nice. And I mean,
I
back
know.
then, that was people that were spending, money on snakes. $2,000 and $3,000 sale was not uncommon at all. And for the most part, back at that time frame, this is probably pre-COVID. I would say an average. I wasn't happy if I went to Tinley and made less than $8,000.
Well, what about now? No.
Dude, if I go now, if I can make $4 grand, I'm happy.
Okay.
But it's funny because I had $6,000 wrought irons on the table. So I mean, I could have gone to Tinley and came home with $15,000 if people bought some of the high end stuff. But they didn't. I mean, I may go to Tinley and bring $45,000 worth of stuff with me. But some of it's real high end, and if the right person doesn't walk by, you're not selling it.
Do you ever try to hit a certain dollar amount of inventory on purpose at this point? Or are you more interested in like numbers of animals in a particular price bracket?
I don't do any of that.
Okay. You just bring what you got available?
I pair shit for what I want to.
Well, I just mean like you can't have $100,000 Tinley if you didn't bring $100,000 worth of stuff to sell. No, it's like literally not possible.
No, that's right.
Right. So then I think about it like, oh, well, if you wanted to make
I will say I've never gone to Tinley and expected to make $5 grand and brought $4,000 worth of shit.
Right.
Done that.
Okay, good.
I go to Tinley, I had $20,000 and want to make $5 grand. That'd be great. But right. Again, I say a lot of the project and some of these projects is great. It's more challenging, so it's not going to be a lot of competition. There's some of these animals I've been raising for 7 years that are on the cusp of coming to fruition. So, I may not be too far away from being able to go to a show with, a case full of diamond pythons and some Peruvians and another one. And I mean, anyone that's been looking for a Peruvian, I should be able to sell a few of those, at $1,500 a piece, $1,200 a piece, whatever they are when I get to that point. So, there are some of the stuff I'm doing. It's a little bit more difficult and a little bit rarer to find are animals that are, $800, $600, $1,200, $1,500. So I could be in a position where I go back to shows and have some really good shows once I get that, some of that
Would
stuff.
you save diamond pythons only for a Tinley type situation?
No, I won't save anything for anything.
Okay, you're going to take it to...
It's for sale, and it's for sale.
So Slidell or like a local yokel show?
I probably will not. I mean, I'm not going to bring I'll bring more to Tinley than I would there, but I will bring some there.
Okay.
And I do get some people in our smaller shows that are looking for some of that stuff that is more unique and rare, and they will buy it because they haven't seen it before. They want it. There's still some of those people running around. There's one other piece of my business I've been telling myself for the last couple of years, and I think I'm going to start gearing towards that, is having one little section, maybe 30 or 40 animals that sit in one little rack somewhere. That's like, hey, I'm going to breed this stuff strictly for wholesale. And see if I can't get to a point where, hey, I'm going to this, and then, some stuff that I know wholesalers are buy that not a lot of people are going to produce, but it's like, hey, let me sell that and see if I can't, in, 2 months, make the full overhead for my business out of that whole wholesale thing. And it's like, hey, if I can do that, bam, done. Then the whole other 10 months of the year, I do whatever the hell I want and have all the fun I want to. It still, to me, is, it's great if this ever turns into a freaking cash cow and I have more money than I know what to do with. But if it doesn't, as long as I'm having fun the whole way, it's good enough for me. So if I can find a way to cover the overhead in a small group of wholesale animals and then have fun with all the rest, then it's great.
Would that be a common animal or a rare animal? No,
some of my thoughts are so I have T negative MBKs. I should have a clutch of those this year. And I got some people want that. And I said, you know what? I think I'm really going to keep everything I produce this year. And I think I wouldn't mind having, 3.7 T-neg MBKs and just produce those and wholesale those. I think there'll be a wholesalable item that not a lot of people are going to produce those. So people want them. I wouldn't mind having some ring pythons, some diamond pythons, some Angolan pythons, and produce some of that stuff as wholesale. Because, again, I know they're in higher demand. Yeah, I'm going to lose 50% of the price of the animal selling it to someone else. But, hey, just cover my overhead, get it out the door. And I know some wholesale people that, I've sold to, and some people that I know I can probably call and aren't getting a ton of that anywhere else. They know they can sell them because the price is right, so they're going to buy it. So, some stuff like that.
Are wholesalers reliable to you, like as your customer? Because sometimes I'm like, they're like, I'm full. I'm like, full of what?
Well,
and like, because you're not their only customer. They can buy from whoever, and then you're like, well, you're not a reliable outlet for me. So then they don't rely on me, and I don't rely on them, and then this pet store sort of flakes out. And
if I want to set it up to perform the goal I want it to perform, then I need to have something like
that nobody else really.
I think a white Mexican black king snake sell pretty good. So if that's the case, I see Sonoran Desert. I did not get those from Mike Weitzman. I did not.
Okay.
But if you have something like that, it's going to be an attractive looking animal. Not a ton of people are going to have those. So I have a feeling if you have those animals priced at 50% off for wholesale, and it's not like you buy two, it's like, hey, dude, I got freaking 40 of them. You take them all for 50% off. They're going to buy them, though, because they can't go get those anywhere else. They're not going to tell you they're full of those. I think someone tells you they're full. Like, I don't need any more corn snakes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But hey, do you got any Angolans? No. Cool. I got a freaking 20 lot. You want to buy those at 50% off of retail? No, they'll buy those all day long because they know they can make money on them.
Right.
They got to sell half of them and they're whole again on their money. So, I've tried to think about, hey, what species do I want to do that are slightly more challenging species, but are animals that are in somewhat of a demand that at the right price, a wholesaler is going to buy all of them. So I think being very picky with what you want to do to set that type of piece up, you have to be picky on what it is, but it also afford me that opportunity to do what you were just saying a minute ago. Will you ever breed a species you don't really care about? In that case, yes, because the goal of this little block of snakes is to cover the cost of running my business every year, so that everything else I'm doing is for fun. And then it's even better because now I have this thing and I'm doing it for fun. I don't need that money because the cost of my business is already covered. Now I can negotiate and wheel and deal on that maybe a little bit more and bring it to a show because it's fun, and I'm selling it a little bit. You're super interested in it. You seem real excited about this. Hey, I'll take a little less because you're excited and it doesn't impact not covering costs.
So, yeah, I have a lot of like pets where I'm like, oh, I like this. I could breed it, but then I don't want to. And so then you accumulate like project animals that are like backup males, third rank of this species. And then this one has a cool thing. And so like, I need something that is consistent income, like a wholesale, to cover all my dumb pets.
Well, but that's the other reason why some are like, I got my Dummerals. I got my Peruvian boas. I got my diamond pythons. I got my ring pythons. You want to know why I got those? There's no fucking mutations. It's a dumb game. Pair this to this and get more of that. That's it. Like, I don't have to think about it. I'm going to make Peruvians. I'm going to make diamond pythons. I'm going to make ring pythons, So, it's some of those I got because I need that simplicity in my life on that piece. But I find the species fun to handle, fun to deal with, and somewhat attractive. I know there's a lot of people don't like ring pythons, even after they turn where they're not bright orange and freaking black. I still think they're freaking shit with gold, and that's such a fun species to mess with. I love handling those things. They're so freaking wild. They're a lot of fun, so I like those. So I'll keep doing that. But it's great to have those because there's no thought process. You're just like, I need one with peens and one without. That's all I need. That's all I have to think about.
Right. You could selectively breed species with no morphs, but some of them are very homogeneous in expression. Yeah. So like there almost isn't something to do except for maybe like fecundity or temperament.
But the funny thing, I see in Bright Night that you can selectively breed. I think that's inherent. If you're a breeder and you are producing some stock, you're always going to keep the nicest stuff for you. Or you're going to find yourself going down some rabbit hole with that. So you're going to selectively breed kind of on your own anyway, no matter what. But I mean, I agree. And hey, I'm doing that with a Speckled King project right now, freaking.
Right. You're doing a Louisiana county. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a parish. Thank you very much. We don't have county.
Sorry.
But yeah, no.
Sacrilege.
I have albinos, and albinos are Oklahoma, and they're very banded. And so I have a St. Tammany Parish locality that I caught, and I made hats from that. And, they're just less banded and more speckly. So trying to make a prettier albino. And here I am 7 years down the road and ain't got there yet. It's one of those, I'm never going to recoup the money I've invested.
Right. That's what I mean by like pets. Like you can breed them, but they're effectively You need somebody else to subsidize them. Someone else with a little bit more cash flow.
No, you need a rack of wholesale animals.
So that's okay. That's what I'm saying. Call me. Pet stores, call me.
Yeah.
I'm here. Call me. All right. I think we did it. The cat's scratching me. He wants to go outside or something.
Oh, there you go.
Brother. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. You've laid down many pieces of advice and knowledge.
Absolutely.
Lisa's here. She loved it. Quirky's here. We still have 20 people here. That's good. Hopefully everybody learned something. Did we learn anything?
Maybe next time we'll talk about other species and some of that.
We kind of did. We were all over the place.
Touched a little. I think there's a lot of stuff I still don't even touch on, but that's all right.
We'll do round 2 in 6 months. How about that?
Whenever you're ready.
All right. I love it. Let's say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Everybody go buy 10 ring pythons. That's my advice.